the first thing I want everyone to learn from this particular session is that you can learn more about what you need from other professions than from your own profession. Because when you're looking at the same thing over and over and over, day in, day out, you tend to miss the certain details that you actually need to absorb. And a few students that have participated in various things that we've run, you've probably realized the more you know how little you actually know, right? This is one of the dangers of being an engineer, when you realize, holy shit, there's so much stuff out there that I don't know. And there's a lot of things that you don't know. There's a lot of things that you're going to learn, but there are some basic things that you can learn now that will give you an edge in your career. And Patrick will speak about the concept of sales. No one goes into engineering thinking I'm going to be a salesman. No one, right? Think about when you were in high school and when you had that first moment of spark. Some of you didn't have that spark till second year of university. Some of you don't end up having that spark until you're a few years in industry. Believe me, I know it. But the point is, when you go into engineering, you don't go in thinking I'm going to be in sales. But everything you do in life is sales. Everything. Every single day you're selling. And selling and convincing people of things are virtually the same thing. Sometimes you're selling for money, sometimes you're selling for other points of value, but you are constantly negotiating and selling and discussing and doing that. There's a reason why people who grow up in certain suburbs of Melbourne that are constantly engaged and interacting with people who do a lot of sales, a lot of bartering. If you give them some form of formal education, some form, doesn't have to be, a PhD, but some form of formal education where they can just brush up on certain things, they become very effective at almost any industry they go into. Because they have the ability to adapt, because they have the ability to communicate, because they have the ability to sell and convince, you can literally give them any job and they'll find their way through. Now you might be saying life is unfair because I studied 4 years of engineering and that guy didn't do shit and he still got a job. Life is not fair. Whoever said life was fair, right? Life is what you're going to make of it. Now, the advantage that you guys have here is that this is not a typical engineering degree. I guarantee you, I've taught 6 universities in Victoria and no one teaches engineering like we do. And it's not to say that we do it better than everyone else, but it's unique. It's unique because we know that an engineering graduate can't just rely on their technical skills to get that job. Horses for courses. This may not be the right degree for you. It may not be the right degree for everyone, but it does have certain unique value propositions. So we're going to spend extra time with you to give you that little bit of an edge that's going to get you the chance to get that job in industry. It doesn't mean that you're going to be working in the job that you always wanted to do. There's a ladder and you've got to climb that ladder. Some people immediately get to skip a few steps and some people have to start from the bottom. But it's up to you how quickly you want to get there and where you start on that ladder. The more effort you put in now, the easier it becomes later. The more you piss fight around now, you're still going to get a job, right? But it's going to be a much harder uphill battle for you. So my proposition for you today is don't waste your time. Take full advantage of the fact that you have Patrick, myself, Noor, Steve, Tim, and all the other guys supporting you, because the other guys don't. Other guys don't have that level of support. But the support doesn't mean anything unless you utilize that support. That's why we say, ask questions, stay engaged. It's not about passing assignments, as you guys say, and some other academics in the department don't like when I say this. Grades don't actually matter. They really don't. Yes, it's nice to have good grades, but ultimately it doesn't determine your success. So if you're the sort of person that hasn't had that academic success to date, here's your chance to shine. What are you actually good at? Right? What can you actually do that defines you as a person? There's a lot of things, right? I'm not going to go into all the details, but some of you play instruments. Some of you know how to do sales. Patrick was very good at sales and he built a career out of it, right? Some people are good at the technical stuff. Other people work well in teams. Other people are very good organizers, right? Someone says to you, we've got to get this done. You're the sort of person that's taking sticky notes, putting them up on the whiteboard, organizing the processes, the resources. We all have different skills. So knowing how to play to your strengths to get what you want is an important part. That means analyzing yourself. I had a quick look at some of your LinkedIn profiles and some of your CVs because you've applied for Will. There's a lot of work to be done in some cases, and other people are doing quite well. So let's not kid ourselves and say, oh, I didn't get a job. because of so-and-so. First of all, I want you to start from yourself. I want you to critically analyze your own information. What are you putting out there? Because I'm going to break this part into a few bits. We're going to talk about COVID-19. We're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about them. And we're going to talk about the selling point, which Patrick will do more work on. But this part about you can't blame anyone except you. Only you. Doesn't matter what people tell you. If you're not putting the effort in to make sure that your CV, your cover letters, that your LinkedIn profile, whatever digital presence you have, if it doesn't truly represent who you really are and what you have to offer, then it's only your fault if you don't get selected for something. The sales part is very closely intertwined with this part about you. So I want you to go to your LinkedIn profile, your CV, and whatever else you've got out there, and have a look at how you are presenting yourself. Critically appraise yourself. I know it's difficult to do. That's why I asked the question earlier on. I forget who it was. Labulul, I think it was. Would you hire yourself? Based on what you see, not based on what you know here, but based on what you see, because perception is more powerful than reality. So if you have a perception of someone, in this case of yourself, and when we perceive ourselves, we always perceive ourselves, human beings tend to perceive themselves much greater than they actually are, most people. There are people who devalue themselves, which is another negative trait. You need to know realistically where you are. So what I'm going to get you to do briefly, and no, I'm going to hijack this a little bit off plan, is I want you to pick someone here, and I'm going to do that very, very quickly. There's 63 people on this call here, minus the few staff members and Patrick. Just pick someone on this list here. Can you guys, is this a webinar or meeting Zoom?
Meeting Zoom.
Meeting Zoom. So you can see who's online, right? Pick someone and spend 5 minutes critically appraising their LinkedIn profile. What does it tell you? What it doesn't tell you? And feed that information back to them. You don't need a lot of time. First impressions count. Whether you go on a date or a job interview or something else, first impressions count. What is the first thing? And pick someone preferably who you don't know so well. Otherwise, yeah, it's my mate, Tanner. Yeah, Tanner's brilliant. Yeah, I'll pick someone who you don't know so well and just give them 3 critical appraisal points and do the same for that person. So just quickly match up. Let's do that. 5 minutes. It doesn't take long.
All I'm going to say also quickly is if you can put your effort into your Instagram, if you have a nice bio, a nice DP, because you want girls or guys, depending on however you want to say it, you can put effort into your LinkedIn. I'm telling you, and some of your LinkedIns are just horrible. I've already had a look at them. So if you guys can put effort into your Facebooks, into your LinkedIns, into your Snapchats, and you guys make it look nice bios, because you want people to follow you. You want more followers, because that's what, unfortunately, the world we live in, the Instagram world, I call it. You can put the effort into your LinkedIns. So
your LinkedIn is your digital CV.
Yeah.
So everything that you put on that shitty piece of paper that you pass around, it should be on your LinkedIn profile plus more. So the sales part is certainly done in many different ways. There's a verbal, there's a written one, there's this digital presence in which you have all sorts of aspects. In the future, it's probably going to be an augmented reality or virtual reality you, but critically appraise yourself. And what most of you will come back with is, shit, yeah, I've got to do some work. So before Eddie even tells you about how to get those jobs and how to contact the companies and all of that stuff, you guys got to take that first step and make sure that the product that you have, especially for you guys that have been ITI and EEP with me, is you're developing a product or a service. Well, in this instance, the product or service is you. You're selling yourself. So you know how you pitch a product and a service? You're going to pitch yourself. But what exactly are you pitching at the moment if you don't understand yourself, first of all? Who are you and what can you offer? That's the first bit that we're going to do today. We should have done this earlier, but it's never too late to do that. So let's spend 5 minutes critiquing that profile, match up with someone very quickly. 3 things.
So yeah, and guys, we've actually never done this in regards to time constraints, but we're really wanting to push it this year. And because of COVID and how circumstances have changed, that's why we're now really, really pushing the self-source. So we want you guys to do really, really well.
So once you've done this bit, just keep working on it. I'm going to pick a few people at random, and what I want you to read out to us is the 3 pieces of advice, or I guess observations that you had from someone else on your profile, and how you're going to action that. Because I just don't have enough time to go through everyone's LinkedIn profile. I could probably have 50 comments for everyone. But I've got some advice here for your CVs and for your cover letters and all of that stuff. We'll get into that in a second. So first part's on you. Yeah, put yourself in the position of the boss who's hiring. You going to spend money on this person? Or would you rather hire someone else? In fact, you can flip this around in a competitive way. If I got you guys to pick your teams right now, I said just pick a team of 5 from the entire group here. I'm pretty sure that certain people would cling to certain people because of their excellence. Excellence chooses excellence. You're not going to pick the worst guy in the team here and say, hey, I'm going to go with this guy. So if you're doing that already here, imagine what companies are doing. They're doing the exact same thing. They're looking at you and saying, I want this guy, I want her, I don't want this guy, I don't want that girl. So that's the way it works. That's the real world. Now, you guys have inside information, of course, because you've worked with each other for a couple of years. The companies won't have that. The companies will be looking at that surface level, which is your CV, which is your cover letter, which is your LinkedIn profile, et cetera, et cetera. But the interview is when they get the shovel out or the excavator and they start digging deeper below the surface. And they start probing with those questions that make you feel uncomfortable. And it's normally those questions like, oh, tell me a little bit about yourself. And you're like, oh man, I was hoping you're going to ask me a question about structural engineering. And they never do. Because they know how to make you feel uncomfortable. And making you feel uncomfortable is part of the solution to see who's going to perform and who's not. So I'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll come back. I'm just grabbing some water and then I'll come back.
All good. I'm going to probably do the same thing.
Hopefully you guys have done a few already. So just give us the thumbs up reaction if you've completed, just so we have a rough idea who's done. You got the little reaction button on the bottom corner. So if you're done, just give us the thumbs up. Man, why is your finger brown instead of yellow? I didn't know you could change the color of the thumb.
Yeah, you can change the color of the thumb.
All right, fair enough. I was just curious. All right, for the rest of you that are still going, you got a couple of minutes, just make it quick. This is not supposed to be a tedious exercise. It's just to really quickly, first impressions, because this is what the companies are going to do when you get in touch with them, or whether it's someone in HR, whether you've lodged a formal application, whether it's something informal, they're very quickly going to glance at you and say, yeah or no, got it or don't have it.
And guys, we want to bypass all that aptitude testing. You know that cohort, that graduate program, 3,000, 4,000 students are applying for it. I think you guys are all seeing it. Our objective is to bypass all of that. That's what we're wanting to teach. Is there's no point competing against all those students, because I'm telling you, those HR managers, they're just looking at, it's actually not even HR managers. They're actually an algorithm right now. They sift it through some sort of software, and it basically says yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe. And then they look at the yeses, they look at the maybes, the no's they don't even worry about. And it could just be a certain mistake in regards to how your resume looks. That's why we're very picky on that. But if we can bypass all of that, you can go direct to the recruiter, target SMEs, and start targeting the large corporations. You will have a better chance of not only learning more, but securing a position, a will placement or a graduate position.
All right, let's get started. So hand up, put your hands up if you want to talk about the feedback that you receive very quickly and openly. And by the way, guys, this is just a super safe environment. So we're not here to laugh at anyone. We're not here to ridicule anyone. We're here to help each other. This is why I keep using the word team. You guys are all part of Team Latrobe. And yes, we need to have a captain, and we need to have a goalkeeper, and we need to have whatever positions. But at the end of the day, we're a team. So the more we help each other, the more we provide feedback to each other, everyone is a winner at the end. And this is your immediate network. And these are the people that Patrick was talking about, you know, the sales and so on. That network that you build from university, Noor and Patrick and you guys, that's the people that you can do business with to start with. Right? That's your inner circle. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't do business with people outside of that circle, but you got a starting point. At least you know something about each other. You know each other's capabilities. You know, you studied for 4 years together. If you haven't learned something about each other, you're probably never going to learn anything about each other either. So this is your immediate network, and that's why it's good to use it to get feedback on your personality. So Labul, you want to go first? You got your hand up?
Yeah, I just saw like a couple of people, and I think the major thing I would say is some of the people, they don't update their information. Like some of them are studying in third year, but they still have first year engineering on their LinkedIn profile, as well as the posts. They don't really have anything to showcase what they have done, or if they have been to certain sort of gatherings or industry environments, or do they contribute to something. I think like that's kind of like the major thing I've seen in some of the LinkedIn profiles. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, very good. Yep, absolutely. I completely agree. So update your information. That's definitely a critical one. If you want to stay away from one problem, don't put things in your tagline that say aspiring second-year student, because guess what? In 12 months' time, you're what? You're an aspiring third-year student. You're no longer a second-year student, right? So it's pointless to have what year level you are, because no one gives a shit. Does it give you any value? No, it doesn't. So don't put that there. And guess what? Everyone's an aspiring student. If you're not an aspiring student, what are you, right? So anything that's super common, don't use it. It's like everyone's using it, aspiring. So just a couple of pieces of advice. No posts. Who's next? Abdullah.
Yep. Are we meant to be reflecting ourselves, or the ones that we've seen?
It doesn't matter. It's fine. Labilla went the other way, but we're still learning. So go for it. Yeah.
So the things I received were my terminology and the way I expressed my experiences. Mm-hmm. So if I worded them better, maybe I'd get better responses.
Yeah, absolutely. I can touch on terminology. So here's a couple of hints about terminology. So no one expects you a second or third year of university degree to have all the terminology in the world. But how can someone tell me how you become familiar with the terminology that's used in the industry that you want to work in?
You can read the job description from different companies.
Exactly. You go to the job ads, you see what they're looking for. And then you ask yourself, how many of those keywords that are being used are also found in my LinkedIn, in my CV, in my cover letter? It doesn't mean that you take every keyword and just put it in there for the sake of putting it in there, but there are certain ways to express yourself. And you get better and better at doing this the more you read. So read job ads, find the terminology, make a list of the terminology and the skill sets that are being used, and then you start to embed that. And you ask yourself the question, how am I addressing this? Am I addressing any of these points? Oh shit, I know all of these things, but I haven't addressed any of them in any of my applications. And then people say, oh, I got rejected. Well, you would probably reject yourself if you applied with that application. You would. But you feel bad when someone else rejects you. So you got to be fair on both sides of the equation. Very good. All right, Matthew Corvetti.
Hey guys, just some of the feedback I think I've got maybe is probably to do with the experience on the LinkedIn profile. So I guess it's good to have the experience that you have, but maybe write something up a bit about that experience. So instead of just saying, oh, I have experience in retail here, maybe saying a bit about what you actually did and what you learned throughout that time, or whatever it is you're working on at the moment. Just so then you can apply that to whatever it is you're applying to.
That's a brilliant one, Matt. And I'm glad that you just brought that up, because if you look at your LinkedIn profile and so on, once you get to a point where you're so experienced where people are hunting you for work instead of you hunting them, you don't need to be as out there with your information as you need to now. At some point in time, you become, right, an asset, because you're so experienced that people are hunting you for jobs. You're not in that position right now. During the mining boom back in the day, that was the case. Companies would come to universities and hire 40 students at once. Done. And give you $120,000 and goodbye. It's not for everyone, but they did it. But that's not the case right now. And we can't bank on that happening post-COVID. I don't know what the situation is going to be like. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. But what you can do is, for each position, for everything that you've ever done, simplify it down to the following 6 things. 3 and 3. The 3 and 3 rule always works. 3 responsibilities that you had in that particular job or experience. Whether it's a project, whether it's work at Coles, at McDonald's, whatever it is. 3 responsibilities that you held. Be very careful about which 3 you want to list, because they've got to be the 3 critical ones that you want people to know about. There are some assumptions that are made about those jobs. So if they're very dead straightforward, then don't list them. But think of 3 things for each thing that you've ever done. 3 responsibilities. I was responsible for A, B, and C. Now, the other 3 things, the 3 and 3 rule, is 3 achievements. What did you achieve? Just because you were responsible for something doesn't mean shit. Right? What did you achieve? And you might say, okay, at McDonald's, I worked for 6 years on the front counter serving people. What does that say about you? Okay, probably shouldn't be working at McDonald's for 6 years. Probably dive into something else. But let's say that you did. You better have amazing communication skills, because if you work for 6 years on the counter and you can't communicate, there's something wrong with you. All right? If you're in the back just frying the chips, I can understand. But if you're in the front serving people, you would have learned something. You would have learned to deal with difficult people, especially at 3 a.m. when people come back after a night out, right? And you put the mayo in where you shouldn't have put the mayo in, and then some guy's threatening to kill you. Yeah, we've seen it all, right? And that's not just McDonald's, it's at other places. But think about what you've achieved during that period. So one of your achievements might be, right, you've received some award. Maybe people receive those monthly awards at McDonald's. I'm just giving you really shitty examples because everyone understands those examples. Those little stars that you get in the award, employee of the month. I think ultimately everyone's an employee of the month at some point in time, but there are other ways to display that you did something well. It could be an appraisal from a manager. It could be that award that goes up on the wall. It could be feedback from customers, depending on where you're working. Something that provides evidence that this thing that you did was done well, because that's what they're looking for. So 3 responsibilities and 3 key achievements. The more complex the job, the more complex results. But don't downplay a simple job like one at McDonald's, because I would always hire someone who has McDonald's experience over someone who has no experience. I've had a student like that before. Noah remembers him, Tally McCart. It was like 7 years ago. The kid never worked a single day in his life, his entire life. Not even a bit of gardening, not even nothing, absolutely nothing. And when I asked him, why didn't you do any of this stuff? Oh, I didn't need to. Mum and dad always gave me money. And he was applying for graduate roles and every company was just rejecting him. And it was very obvious why. It's like you have no life experience except the fact that you've been on the couch playing Xbox and gone to uni for the last 4 years. You don't know anything. Now you guys know it. People have done various jobs, whether it's gardening, McDonald's, labor work, whatever it is, you got to list it and you got to talk about it. You got to sell it. Right? So 3 and 3. Look at all your roles and responsibilities and ask yourself, do I have 3 and 3? If you don't, get to work. Start doing it. In some places you can add more than 3, but my advice to you is keep it short and sweet because people aren't going to read beyond 3 anyways. They just want to see what you can and can't do. Does that make sense for everyone? Thumbs up if you get that. All right, very good. Let's keep moving on then. Who wants to be next? Comments. All right, Abishwa.
I noticed some students have selfies as a display pictures. I don't think that's really appropriate on LinkedIn. A lot of students also did major projects. Like I know third-year students are doing traffic impact analysis, geotechnical investigations. I think they can add that to their LinkedIn profile for the time being. What else? Like there's a lot of stuff Eddie encouraged us to do in ITI and engineering enterprise, like your Google Digital Garage, LinkedIn learning courses. I think those are pretty valuable. They should be up on the LinkedIn page as well. Your student membership with professional bodies, like I have Engineers Australia and the Institute of Civil Engineers UK. I have that listed on my LinkedIn profile, so I think people should do that as well. So it shows there's some level of commitment. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, very good. A couple of things. I'm not going to dive into memberships. Obviously, if you guys are members of professional organizations, have that listed. But who can tell me why having that listed might be important? Or what it might say to someone? So if you see someone who's a member of a professional organization, what does that say to you?
Is that you're active in the industry that you're applying for?
Yeah, exactly. So we all have a hobby and we're probably part of something that's a hobby, which is fine, great. But if you're going to be an engineer and you're not part of some sort of engineering body, you're a spectator. You're not a participant. Yeah, some people go to the footy and watch it and some people play footy. Well, I enjoy doing both, right? But if I'm looking to get a job as a football player, I certainly want to be playing rather than watching. You agree? So being part of these professional bodies means that it should imply you're interacting with people in the industry, you're learning from these sources. That's not true for everyone, I know that. But you should at least imply it, at least make a little bit of an effort, considered effort, because that's what's going to actually help you. So that's one thing. Second thing, selfie on LinkedIn. Absolutely no. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, does anyone actually care about the photo? I mean, come on, Eddie, who gives a shit? If I can do the job, that's all that matters. Yes, that's true. If you can sell yourself minus the photo, that's absolutely true. But guess what? If you're out there hunting in the forest looking to shoot that buck, right? You need to put everything on display to make sure that you optimize your chances of being in the right position to take that kill shot. Apologies if anyone's vegetarian. Maybe that was a bad example. But what I'm saying is you want to get yourself in a position where you don't have shitty excuses for being rejected. You'd feel pretty crap if someone didn't look at your profile just because your profile photo happened to be some sort of selfie photo that you took at the bar, which by the way, looks great for attracting the opposite sex, but not so great at attracting companies employing you. So horses for courses. Instagram photos, one thing. LinkedIn photos, another thing. Taking a professional photo, I put up a video from Daniel Hook's brother on how to take a professional photo at home. Some of you watched it and did it. Some of you watched it and thought this is bullshit. Some of you didn't even watch it. I don't really care. I'm going to give you the advice. Whether you follow it or not, it's up to you. I'm not your mum and dad. And in fact, not even your mum and dad can give you that sort of advice. But it's there for you to use. Taking a professional photo at home is so simple. put a shirt on, get a bit of a shave if you have to. If you're a female, put a little bit of makeup on. If you're a male, you can put a bit of makeup on as well if it helps you with the photo and glare, so be it. But put a little bit of effort into it. You guys go through a lot of effort to take those Instagram photos. When it comes to your professional photo for your LinkedIn, it's like, yeah, whatever, I'll just take something. I just got to be there because Eddie said it's a good thing to be there. Well, no, now it's serious. Do it properly. Projects listed, probably the most important thing, which Bishwa said. A lot of people get to fourth year and third year and like, oh, but I haven't done anything. No, you haven't reflected on anything. It's not that you haven't done anything. You have not reflected on what you have done. That's why reflection is important. You don't have to reflect every day like some people do for diary. I'm on a dear diary today. I ate this and I did. That's something different. But you've got to be able to reflect on what you learned, where you had projects and authentic learning from ITI, AEP, EDP, third year project. You do little mini projects in certain subjects, right? You know about those. They last for a couple of weeks. They're also projects. A project isn't just something that lasts for 5 years and you work with 5,000 people and it's worth $5 million. No, projects can be very, very small. Now, these are university projects. So for each one of them, you should have them listed. You should have a photo or a diagram or something, a portfolio, something to show what you did. So a good example, why do we get you guys to do a portfolio in second year for ITI and EP? So you can have something to show people. So you can say, I worked on this and I was responsible for that. And this was the outcome. It's something that you can talk about. And to be honest with you, 50% of students get asked about those projects from second year in their interviews, 50%, right? So there's a very good chance you're gonna get asked. So it's much easier if you know what to talk about than get caught out and say, oh yeah, that thing, oh, by the way, I didn't know what to do. That's just one example. What about projects that you do outside of the classroom? Now, not everyone does that. But if you're very serious about engineering, a career in engineering, you probably want to do things outside of the classroom that complement what you're doing in the classroom. It's called extracurricular. Now, extracurricular activities can be playing sport, a violin, playing cards, whatever. But it can also be related to your profession. So if you're doing things like that, they should be on your CV. They should be on your LinkedIn profile. If you're dismantling cars in your garage and putting them back together, I want to know about that because it means that you have a knack for solving problems. It means that you're committed to something. It means that you have certain mechanical skills. That's what it's telling me. I'm not going to get that by you saying I'm a student at La Trobe University. You know, you and 30,000 other students are studying at La Trobe, and there are a couple of 100,000 studying in Melbourne. So you're not just a student, you're a student with X, Y, and Z. So think about which projects you have done during your studies at university, list them on a piece of paper if you have to, try and describe them with this 3 and 3 method. It's nice and simple. Give it a little bit of context. It was undertaken as part of blah, 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 right? Title of the project was this. You got a video pitch. If your video pitch was good and you feel pretty confident showing it, put it up on your LinkedIn profile. Because if I watch your video pitch and I see you presenting like a genius, I don't need to know anything else about you, but I'm going to invite you to an interview. Lucas said it. He confirmed it. I had a 45-minute chat with one guy. He was so entertaining, so clever, had the right language, the right attitude. I could tell over the phone that I wanted to hire him. Simple as that. And here you are thinking you need to build a spaceship to get a job. Sometimes it's a lot simpler than that. But what you don't want to be in a position of is that you don't have all the tools at your disposal. So projects listed on there as well. Okay, and other things, short courses, certificates. There's a reason why we've built that into the course. If I say, guys, everyone should go and do this, the really good students who see value in it will go and do it. They'll think about it, but they'll do it. The vast majority of students, the Gaussian distribution, right? This middle bit here, the highest volume of students, will do it only if they're incentivized. Eddie, can you give me some money to do it? Eddie, can you give me some marks to do it? Eddie, can you give me a direct connection to where that's going to be applicable? And if it's not, I'm probably not going to do it. That's the vast majority. And a small portion of people will just ignore everything that I said and just go and do their own thing and then call me in fourth year and say, Eddie, I need a job. And that's when I just get that phone and just drop it and sink it. and just tell you, hey, I'm sure there's jobs out there. I'm sure you'll find them later on. You don't put the effort in, we don't put the effort in. Why am I saying this? You have micro credentials. If you did the digital garage by Google thing, that should be on your CV. Now, how do you leverage that? Engineers need to know a little bit about marketing, a little bit about sales, a little bit about negotiation, a little bit about project estimation, costing. Lucas was just saying before. Right now, we're winning jobs. Later on, we're doing jobs. If winning jobs is the hot thing in our company right now, you are coming into the team that's going to do the estimation. They don't care whether you're like, oh, but I want to be on site. The company's goals are the thing that you work for. If the company is making money, the company needs to make money. And if you working in the estimation department means that's going to help them make money, that's where you're going to work to start with. You're not going to work in estimation for the rest of your life, but you want to show them that you're willing to help them make the money, because that's what companies exist for, okay? Never mind what companies say on their mission and vision and goals and culture and all of that. If they're not making money, they don't exist. Just never forget that, please, especially in private industry. The difference between private and public, government and someone else's pocket, right? The government can be very sloppy with their money. I'm sure you guys already know this. I'm not critiquing the government, but governments can be very sloppy. If a project runs over budget for governments, yeah, a few politicians get disgruntled, a few people put it up in the newspaper, but at the end of the day, it still gets done. In private industry, when a project goes over budget, you got people willing to cut your throat because that money's coming out of someone's pocket. If I try to take 50 bucks out of your pocket right now, most of you would have a real problem with that, correct? Especially if I didn't tell you why. Especially if I told you this thing was going to cost 50, but then I'm asking you for 150. You're going to get upset? That's what happens in industry as well. And you're part of the problem if you're not on the solution side. So extracurricular activities like the digital marketing that you did, it shows that you've learned a little bit outside of your domain, which can be useful in your domain. So where have you learned those other skills? What validates that skill? If you say, I know how to do marketing, I'm going to ask you, how do you know how to do marketing? And you might say, I learned it at university. That's a good enough, display. But if you've studied engineering, there's probably less likelihood that it'll be a natural match to that. But if you did an extracurricular certificate from Google that says marketing, that adds a little bit more weight. You have a white card? Who has a white card? Anyone put your hand up, thumbs up if you have a white card. Very good. We gave you that as an extracurricular thing in EEP in the subject. Said, get a white card. Guess what happened 2 years ago when one of the students who I kept saying, guys, get a white card, especially if you're in civil engineering. I lined up a job for a student, all sealed. They get to the signing of the contract. Do you have a white card? No, I don't. I get a phone call from the company. Oh, by the way, Eddie, this student doesn't have a white card. And here I'm thinking, how the fuck don't you have a white card when I specifically gave you incentivization to get that white card? You got it. First aid certificates. If you got one, make sure that it's on there. Digital marketing garage, make sure that it's on there. Anything that you have that demonstrates additional capabilities, it should be listed on there. Responsible serving of alcohol, listed on there. You got a certificate for coaching indoor soccer, listed on there. It shows that you're active. As life goes on, as you become an engineer and you work your way through, some of those things will become obsolete. You don't need them anymore. So if you won a maths competition in high school, it's still valid. But it's not going to be valid when you've got 10 years industry experience, because who the hell's going to care whether you won a maths competition in high school when you've got 10 years industry experience? It's about the moment. So if you don't have a lot of accolades for the last year or two, use what you have from the last 5 years. As they build up, you'll throw some things out, but make sure that it's up to date. So think about what you've done. Go back to maybe VCE, because you guys are still relevant to that VCE period. It's only been 3 or 4 years. List all of those things. So selfies, LinkedIn, no. Projects, everything listed on your LinkedIn profiles and your CVs. Your CV shouldn't be longer than 2 or 3 pages. But that being said, you should have 2 CVs. One that's called your master CV. This CV can be the length of a Bible or the Quran or some other holy book. But that's not the one that you're going to sell to people and give to people, because no one's going to read it. From that, you extract bits and pieces that are relevant to the particular job that you're applying for, to the particular company. You have to think about, what do they want and what do I have? It's not about just giving people everything that you have and saying, hey, you guys figure out what you need. If people wanted to go to a supermarket and go and figure things out, they would, but they're not. You're the one that's telling them, I want you to buy the broccoli, or I want you to buy the meat, or I want you to buy the yogurt. You got to show it to them. And that means understanding, does that person want the broccoli, the yogurt, or the meat? If you don't know what they want and you're just giving everything to them, they're just going to look at that thing and throw it in the bin. Because if they waste even 20 minutes reading a CV and they have to read 100 CVs, who's paying for that time? This is why HR companies get paid $10,000, $20,000 for recruiting, because it takes the headache away from the companies doing the engineering and gives it to someone else who's a recruiter. So if you can minimize the cost of recruitment for the company, which is what Nora and I are doing with Steve and the other guys here, is we're helping you guys bridge that gap to reduce the cost for the company, and they love us. Now, part of it is you selling yourself, but you have to understand the context of what it is that we're doing. This is a big product. The product is Will. But the items on the shelf are you guys. And Nora and I are the store managers. You understand what I'm saying? Does it make sense? Okay, let's keep going. I want to hear more. This is really good feedback. This is really good input. As you mention things, we'll delve into them, and you should be taking notes, and you should be asking yourself, have I got these things covered? Because if you don't action this, and then you ask for my help, I will not help you. I will not even budge with a finger, because it means that you're not taking it seriously and you're expecting some sort of miracle to happen. I'm sorry, but miracles don't happen here. Hard work is the only thing that matters. Putting the time in. Next comment. Who's next?
I'm just going to make a quick comment. Sorry. I'll just put an asterisk in regards to this comment. So obviously there's this, what I call old school, new school resumes. The new school resume is basically where there's a lot of visual arts. So you've got a nice photo of you. You've got all these little graphs that is telling you how competent you are in specific areas. Then you have the old school resumes where it's just, you know, Times New Roman, your experience. You'll see generic templates. I think you have to be very careful when you're using these templates. So for graduate programs, as I said, they run softwares. So what software does is when they see the new school resumes, they actually filter it out. If they're not seeing keywords from the position description, they filter it out. So you guys have to be very, very careful on that. If you're going to an SME, for example, like Lucas, that's why I love Lucas's, I guess, philosophy in recruiting those students is it's not going through an HR system. He wants to get to know you. So if you send him a one-pager or a two-pager with all these visual arts, he's going, fuck, this guy's good. This guy, look at that. Nice professional photo. Boom, he's looking at your LinkedIn. Okay, cool. So that filtering doesn't happen. So you can use these new school resumes. So as I said, there is a difference. Zygoverse is something that we use also at La Trobe, specifically engineering, and I can send you the link for that. But yeah, just be careful. New school, old school resumes, and when to use them in which context. Very, very important, guys.
Can I just add something there, Eddie and Noah?
Go for it, Timmy.
I think I've heard that some of those software, some of the software that they use, if you've got stuff in tables, it won't pick up the keywords that they're searching for. So, yeah.
And images. So if you've got an image embedded in there, it's not going to get picked up.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's why it's very important. As I said, old school, text, no images, very, very, very plain, but very, very plain, but very detailed also, and keywords.
But also keep in mind that we're trying to avoid going through those big recruitment engines. Yeah. We don't need to. I've never, ever had to officially apply for any recruitment program ever in my life because I made sure that I was the only guy left standing that they needed to recruit. I want to point the direction of the company towards you. So we're going to teach you how to hunt it yourself rather than someone dropping it in your lap. And if all else fails, we're going to do our bit as well. But if we can get to a point where at least half of you have secured your own work integrated learning placement, not only are you helping Nora and I because that means less positions that we have to hunt down, but you're also helping yourself for the future. Because if you don't get that job after the will, you now have the confidence and the skill set to get any job that you want. more so than the average graduate, because they just don't teach that stuff. That's the point. I want to teach you how to get it yourself so that you never ever have to worry about getting a job, which is what something Patrick's confidence in doing sales, it's contagious. So he's confident about landing jobs, selling things and making money. I don't think he ever worries about, am I going to have a job or not? I never worry about having a job or not, because I know if tomorrow I lost my job at La Trobe, I've got 50 other things waiting for me. I want to get you guys to that point. I don't expect you to be there tomorrow. I don't expect you to be there in 6 months, but you should be aiming to get there by the time you graduate, that your confidence in your skills and your abilities is leading you through your career. Then you don't have to worry about what happens if this industry shuts down. So what? Let it shut down. Industries will keep shutting down. What you do tomorrow is not what you're going to be doing in 10 years' time. And what you do in 10 years' time is not what you're going to be doing in 30 years' time. Things change. We're living in an age where industries are transforming almost instantaneously. It's scary for some people. Think about your parents. Your parents and my parents come from a generation where if you got a job, that's it, done for life. I'm in this company, I'm staying there forever. You become institutionalized. And that's a scary thing, because once you lose that job, you don't know anything else. Don't fall into that trap. Don't get institutionalized, right? Stay active, keep learning. And that's what this is all about. It's about teaching you how to be a hunter rather than waiting in the hut for someone to bring you something to eat. Get out there and get them. Next comment. Let's keep going. This is good stuff. What else did we notice?
Oh, yes. I just want to add to know. So I think because like our uni have access to LinkedIn Learning, so they have like pretty good course how to write a resume on LinkedIn Learning. So you guys should check them out. And they also talk about the system, like how are they going to scan to your CV and so on.
Absolutely. Who's accessed LinkedIn Learning? Only a few people. I'm thinking, some people are thinking, oh God, we're already doing so much work. I have to learn more. Yeah, we have to compete against other guys, right? It's training. All right, what else? What else have we noticed? What else stood out?
I know this is sort of being said, but what stood out to me was when people had licenses and certifications, but they didn't have any experience, or it was in a different order. So I would say if you're going to go through the effort to have your licenses and stuff, you go through the effort of putting it all in so it looks full and complete.
Absolutely. It's the full picture of who you are, what experience you have, what you're licensed for. Absolutely. It's like reading the last chapter of a book, but not reading, the preliminaries to that. It doesn't make any sense. So very good comment, Lauren. Thank you. What else? I'm sure there's a few more things that you guys want to say. Sorry, was that Elise?
Sorry, Eddie.
Yeah, sorry.
Just of Lauren's comments as well, I see a lot of people that have experiences and they've put it down on their LinkedIn, but they haven't explained what it was. And I kind of see LinkedIn as like another extension to your resume. So if you have something that you've got to share and you have experience, that I reckon it would be a good idea to put a job that you've explained in your LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely, 100%. So expansion on that. Hopefully you guys, in a couple of days' time, when I go through your LinkedIn profiles, they're going to be buzzing with content. And your LinkedIn profile also, very importantly, needs to match your CV, right? If you have stuff on LinkedIn that you want people to see, but you don't have it on your CV, then people start to raise the question of why didn't you do it? Were you just sloppy? Or are you trying to ignore something? Or are you trying to, pretend that doesn't exist? And vice versa. More importantly, your CV and your LinkedIn should be complementary, but your LinkedIn profile can be far greater in detail than your CV, because your CV has to be limited. It's something that you send through. To be honest with you guys, CVs are going to be a thing of the past in a few years' time. That's my honest opinion. Especially that, standard Word document that you send a few bits and pieces on. There just won't be any need for it, but that's a whole other thing that we don't have to deal with today. All right, a few more people that haven't said a few words. I'm going to pick you at random if you don't speak up.
I was going to talk about the fact that about the profile picture and the representation on social media. but I think Abhishu already mentioned about it before. But as a graphic designer and a photographer working in the industry, Australia for 2 years right now, I mean, having a profile picture is a really good profile picture is a very, very important thing, because that's the first impression you are giving towards the person. And I have to say, as a photographer and the graphic designer, there are huge amount of people that are invest in photography towards just a one profile picture. For example, the people like council representatives or business representatives. I think that means the picture is really, really meaning to them. Just to pay that 500 to 1,000 sometimes, depends on the picture. So I think it is very important that you don't have to be really beautiful to that. I think there are a huge amount of tutorials in YouTube to how to polish up your photo, and I know for a fact that there are a huge amount of technology available there for in your mobile phone as well to get a good picture that represents you in your the current field as a civil engineer or businessman or someone. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. I think it's already been discussed right now.
And what you're also saying is that because you're a photographer and graphic designer, you're offering your services to the students. Or sales pitch time, right?
I really had this experience where when I get into the graphic design or the photography field especially, I didn't have a good photography myself, the photograph of my profile itself. And when I represent like certain groups and stuff, when I put a post or when I put a comment on that I'm doing this business, there were really ignorance towards that, because they just read the comment that, they don't really care about what your, that caring part comes later. First, that you'll represent your profile picture firstly. So if you don't have that one arranged, there are very limited amount of chance that people are clicking your profile and going towards that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Thanks, Dasun.
Yeah.
Harry, yeah, quickly.
Arvind, yep.
Yeah, I just want to discuss about the CV and cover letter more than LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
because the thing is, like, I made my CV and I thought it was pretty good, but then like I went to the careers team and they made like a lot of changes. So I feel if students spend more time with the careers team and making an appointment with them, they'll actually find like big benefits with that. Because the thing is, I thought mine was pretty good, like I'll be honest, right? But then I went to them and then they were like, it needs a lot of changes. So I think students can like, be beneficial from that service kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone should go to the careers team and have a bit of a chat. If anything, they're going to confirm that your CV is good. But the best case scenario is they tell you, no, your CV needs a lot of work. Okay. Because you don't want to send your CV and get rejected because you just didn't pay attention to a few things. Arvind just confirmed what I said earlier on. As human beings, we always think of ourselves better than we actually are. And I thought my CV was pretty good. I can't believe they rejected me. Why would they reject me? And then your parents also play a role in this, by the way. Your parents are never going to say, oh, son, that was a terrible CV. I thought it was really good. I'm not sure what you missed out on, right? Parents can be our biggest enemies sometimes, and brothers and sisters and friends, because they're going to tell us what we want to hear, not what we should hear, but what we want to hear. So careers office is going to be a little bit blunt. I can be very blunt with you guys if you want. I'll just tell you CV shit, and here's how to fix it. But before you come to me, I think of myself as that F1 car fine-tuning system, right? I plug you into the computer and I just optimize a few parameters to get the maximum performance. I'm not the guy that takes that beaten up, VK Holden and brings it up to tune. That's someone else. I don't have time to do that. But go to the careers office, get that initial advice. And then if you want a final sort of fine tune from me, I'm happy to look at it, but only when you've had that, because if I find spelling mistakes and grammar and structural issues, I'm just not going to look at it at all. Don't come to me. So Arvind, very good comment. Go and see the careers office. Man also said, there's resource available to you, LinkedIn. Are you using all the resource available to you? Probably not. Very good. All right. I wanted to also comment your about section on your CV. Whatever I say about LinkedIn is directly applicable to your CV, by the way. So I talk about them interchangeably. LinkedIn to me is a CV. It's just online. Your About Me section where people describe themselves. Has anyone had any feedback on that? Has anyone looked at that at all?
Yeah, Eddie, I've just been told to update mine and that, and like mainly just update my profile in general, which I 100% agree with.
Okay. Anyone else? About section?
I've got a quick, it's similar to the about section, but not sort of direct, the interest section. So, I mean, if there's a company you really want to get a job with, it's probably a good idea to go and follow them because it will pop up in your interests. And if they go and check your profile out, it'll show that you're interested and you're taking initiative.
Well, 100%, Tanner. So there's no point saying you're interested in a particular industry and there's no evidence of you having any interest in that whatsoever, right? So the about section where you're describing yourself, it's normally asking you to put a short little paragraph together. You can think of that as the LinkedIn version of your cover letter, but a generic one. Too many people have such a generic statement at the start that if you read that, ask yourself this: how many other people does this statement describe? I'm an aspiring third-year civil engineering student. I'm looking to get an internship to get ahead in my career. I'm looking to build a career in the structural industry and the construction industry. Is that applicable to everyone studying civil engineering? Yes. How many people have those statements? Pretty much everyone. So if you are savvy with social media
talking something about CV and all.
Sorry, Megana, go on.
I'm gonna mute her. That's it. Sorry, that was just.
Was she commenting so?
No, she wasn't. She
okay.
Was an accident.
Okay, so think of this. Think of hashtags. So what I want you guys to do now to help you, because your brain is now wired to think in hashtags instead of actually think in sentences, and this is a generational thing, and it happened between my generation, your generation. Everything has to be on demand. I want to watch sport on demand. I want to watch movies on demand. I want to have my meal on demand. I want to have my career on demand. Short and sweet. Now, I'm not going to say that's the right thing or the wrong thing, but I'm also realistic about what's actually current. So describe yourself in your unique way using 10 hashtags. Now, you only have 10 hashtags, and those hashtags have to describe you, your personality, your skills and attributes, your aspirations, what you're studying, the whole lot in 10 hashtags. Do it. Right now, 10 hashtags. And then I'll explain to you how you extrapolate those hashtags to actually define who you are. And remember, they've got to be unique. So if you're putting 10 hashtags that could describe Man, Aravind, Patrick, or Tim, then you're not doing the right thing.
Guys, I just also a little bit of a comment. When some of us wish before an exam we can get the answers to an exam question, and I'm sure if that was ever the case, all of you would sit there and write down everything word for word, because it's going to get you 100%.
That sounds like plagiarism, no?
It does sound like plagiarism. now that's a hypothetical once again. This is sort of the same. Basically, it's giving your answers to get a job. And some of you will write notes down, I can see it. Some of you might action 30% of it. Some of you might get up to 50% and just go, stuff it. I'll let the university find me a placement. All you're doing is shooting yourself in the leg. Take these as a combined over 20 years of experience. So it's important for you guys to execute also on the notes you guys have, and really put it into play, and then start experimenting and come up with your own strategies. Lauren had an amazing strategy. She sent an email to Eddie. What do I post on my LinkedIn? She put a photo of herself and said, look, I'm looking for a position. And John Holland came knocking on the door. That was just, what are the chances of that? But it happened. So everybody will have a specific strategy. And that's what you guys need to tailor. And it's only through practice. Nobody became an expert at C programming in a day. So I expect you guys also to put a lot of practice in. It's not going to happen overnight. Your pitches, how you guys sound, some of you guys will have a lot of ums and ers. Some of it might not even make sense when you're trying to pitch yourselves or pitch the work integrated learning program, but it's through practice, continuous practice, that you guys will succeed.
And we're probably going to do at least one more session next week and the week after that. We'll keep doing more of these because there are different aspects of what we're doing today that you need to action, and then we need to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. Yeah, it's not just a one-off thing. I do it and that's it, I'm done. And by the way, this is not stuff that any of us are being paid to do. So I know you think, Eddie, you're employed by the university, so you should do this. That's not in my job description at all. But I do it because your success then becomes my success and vice versa. My success should be yours. That's where the team aspect comes in. And it only works if everyone puts the effort in. It doesn't work if someone's pulling and someone's like, I don't give a shit, whatever, because you're not going to help yourself. But the fact that you applied for Will, the fact that you made the effort to apply means that you care. Now that you're on this call, that means you care a little bit more. If you're active in this call and you're making contributions, it really says that you care and that you're making an effort. And guess what? I remember people's faces a lot easier than I do names because I have so many students. But if you're making contributions, I will remember your name and I'll remember your face and I'll remember that you're capable. Then I will place you in certain positions that are out of this program if I feel they're really good for you. But if I don't know you and you're not making yourself stand out, then how the hell am I supposed to place anyone anywhere? Because I've got a couple of hundred students to deal with.
Eddie,
so
do you want
make the effort, contribute.
Eddie, let's talk a little bit about Alex Wallerberg, because I know all the students here will know Alex for sure. What made him stand out, and basically how we lined him up with Visi? What was the sort of the background to that? So how did he become a person that, he was on your radar? And I assume he was a pretty quiet kid. How did that change?
Well, it goes back to his undergraduate, second year. So contributions, comments, actively participating. Just notice his name. He was always actively participating. He wasn't a passive learner. And some of you are also that way, because I remember I've taught you. You're actively participating. It makes you stand out. When Lucas was here, now that he's gone, we can talk about it. When Lucas was here, certain people asked questions, specifically because they wanted to put themselves in front of Lucas. I bet you Lucas will remember 2 or 3 people. He won't remember everyone. He certainly won't remember the people that were in the aisle 64, just with their camera switched off in the background, right? And maybe that was your intention because you actually didn't want to get that job with Lucas. That's fine. But you didn't get noticed, so you didn't do yourself any favors regardless of that. Now, you might be thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to work with Lucas. I want to do something else. But Lucas has a big network. And if you stood out like someone that was capable and somehow Lucas noticed you, maybe Lucas doesn't place you there, but says, hey, man, I met this kid, Patrick. Yeah, he's really stood out, really smart guy. He's not for our company, but maybe he's worthwhile for you. Now, it's like lotto. You buy a ticket, you got a chance to win. If you don't buy a ticket, you don't have a chance to win. If you buy 100 tickets, you got a much bigger chance of winning. But you got to be in it to win it. And that's the key. So to reflect back on Alex Wallerberg's story, he made that effort to be known. He got involved in every single possible extracurricular activity. Sometimes he was annoying to the point where I didn't have enough time to deal with him because he was so hungry for things and do things that I didn't have time. But he put himself in the driver's seat, that his destiny was in his hands. And in the end, the fact that he was hungry for that success, that Nora and I spent extra time with him. And after he finished his will and came back and did whatever he did and couldn't find a job, because he couldn't find a job right now, Nora and I went the extra mile for him and lined him up for a job at Visi. We only did that because of his extra effort and all the other things that he did. That's not part of the job. That's not part of the description, because Nora and I spent time on the weekend negotiating with Visi to get that position. Why should I give up my weekend for anyone if you're not willing to put the time in? So you put the effort in, you get the reward. I hope that message really resonates with everyone. There are no free things in life. You got to fight for them and you got to earn them. You got to earn people's respect. You got to earn people's money. You got to earn everything in life. Okay. Let's go back to the hashtags now. I'm going to pick a few people at random because I want to hear how you've described yourself with 10 hashtags. And then someone that knows the person agrees or disagrees with that particular aspect. I'm going to go to page 3 here. Bethany, let's hear the 10 hashtags.
Motivated, dedicated, positive. Sorry, I actually missed this bit. I had to step out for a second, so I'm coming up with them right now.
That's all right. It's on the fly. You're pitching.
Yep.
We might be in an elevator and I'm saying, hey, who are you? Tell me about yourself. So right now you're doing that. Keep going. What else?
Innovative, hardworking.
Okay, fine. Five is enough. Who knows Bethany well enough to comment? Well, I say well enough that you know her perception. Which hashtags would you use to describe Bethany? Who knows her? Come on.
I worked with Bethany in the past, and I would say she's very dedicated and motivated. We worked on numerous group projects, and she's always the first person to come to class, the first to get the team together. She shows a lot of leadership qualities. Everything that she's described herself is true. Yeah.
All right, very good. Jed, the man from Warrnambool.
That's me. So I only had 5 to start off with, but I had community, active, dedicated, and commitment.
All right, I can attest to that. You're very communicative. Anyone else know Jed who wants to confirm a few? Well, not confirm it, but would you add anything else to Jed's portfolio of words there? Who knows Jed here? No one knows Jed?
I worked with Jed back in second year on a few projects.
All right,
I'd say he'd be pretty innovative and creative also.
All right, very good. Tyson.
G'day, how are you?
Always good. Let's hear it.
All right. Team worker, hustler mentality, sportsman, active, leader, driven, caring, giver, motivated, and communicator.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so a little bit different there with Tyson. He had a couple of things that were outside of that expected range of words, yeah? Because the expected range of words, what really defines you as a person, right? Something that, remember, you got 10 hashtags. It's like a combination of words. When you combine all of them, they have a unique representation. Individually, they probably in someone else's profile as well. But it's how you uniquely combine them that helps define who you are. Okay, I'll pick 1 or 2 more people and then I'll go back to the next step. Who else haven't we had speak yet? Sorry, apologies. Someone who's got their camera off. All right, we have Durga Sakh. Camera's off. I want to see if they're still there, whether they're making lunch or something. Durga, can you hear us? They're not here. Are they here? There we go. No, cross them off the list.
Who was that?
Durga Sakh.
Durga Sakh. Right.
Not active. Inderjit. Is Inderjit here?
No. So Inderjit.
Off the list. Right. Jaskaran Singh. Jaskaran, yes, he's here.
Yeah.
He heard the blade being sharpened for the other students and he's like, I better answer. All right, tell us.
My hashtags are innovative, proactive, leadership, active learning, problem solver, team leader, communicator.
All right, very good. And I'll pick one last person, Ben Thomas. Just as I said, Ben Thomas, the image froze. Ben, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, good. All right, there you go.
Yeah, technical, hardworking, sustainable, motivated, abstract thinking, teamwork, innovative, and communication.
Very, very good. All right. So I'm not going to go into further because we can keep talking about this forever. Now, the next step. Don't do this now, by the way. This is what you're going to do outside of this webinar. For each one of these words that you've listed, first of all, get someone to confirm and critique your words so that it's not a one-dimensional view of yourself, i.e. it's me describing me. Then for each one of these hashtags, I want you to jot down 2 or 3 things that demonstrate these hashtags. How do you validate these hashtags? You're saying you're innovative. At an interview, I'm going to ask you, please tell me what makes you innovative. What makes you dedicated? What makes you driven? You're going to be able to prove it. Simple as that. No point. If you go on Instagram, people are there, influencer, leader, this and that. If you ask them a few questions about that, they wouldn't be able to answer it. They think because they got followers, they're influencers. And if they tried to actually sell something, they wouldn't sell toothpaste, right? So there are fake influencers and there are real influencers. And I don't have to tell you about who and what and where, but you are going to be real. You're going to be 100% real. You're going to take these keywords and you're going to describe yourself and you're going to prove whether you actually have this or not. Because if you get to a point where that word that you're using is not actually a true reflection of who you are, throw it out. Even if it sounds sexy and cool. Oh yeah, I'm entrepreneur. If it's not describing you, don't use it, because someone is going to get a chainsaw out at your job interview and they're going to cut you into pieces and make you look really stupid. I tend to do this all the time for fun when people come in and they've got like 400 different programming languages that they apparently know. And I just pull out a piece of code and I say, can you tell me where the error is occurring? Sir, I haven't done this in a few years. What the fuck do you list it for? So be real, because people like real. If integrity is one of the keywords that you're using and you're bullshitting, it doesn't say anything about you. In fact, it takes all of your other keywords and throws them in the trash, because now I'm skeptical about everything that you're saying. So don't do it. I see it happen all the time. Just be honest, be real, be yourself. People want to get to know the real you because they're going to work with you if they hire you. If you're fake up front, they're going to find out very quickly. And it's happened a few times with Noor and I and a few students that sold an amazing story, had me and Noor convinced. Obviously, we didn't pay as much attention as we really wanted to. But I'll tell you what, the first week of the job was a disaster. So I don't want to have to go out of site and sort out problems like that when people sell themselves as mechanical engineers and they don't know the difference between radius and diameter.
That wasn't fair, by the way. We just assumed that was knowledge they had. That one fooled us for sure.
Okay, so these keywords that you've jotted down, you've got an exercise. By next week, we have another one of these sessions, which I'll send out to you guys. I want everyone to have that short paragraph describing themselves using the keywords and demonstrating how you achieve those or how you demonstrate those. They need to be in your CV somewhere. They need to be in your cover letter. Later on, you can fine tune them to the particular company or job or wherever you're applying and to go on further on. All right, I'm not going to talk anymore because I've talked on forever. Hopefully that was useful to some of you guys to think about what you need to have. We'll do session 2 next week. I'm going to pass it on to Patrick now to tell you the art of the sale, not the Donald Trump version, which is fake, where apparently he's got a lot of losses and not unpaid taxes. Patrick's paying his taxes, so it's good.
I am. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds, Pat. I'm so sorry. What I want everybody to do, 5-minute break, information overload, stretch, get some water, go to the toilet. It's been now, I think, nearly 2 hours. So please, yes, break, water, toilet, and then come back at 1 o'clock and then we'll get Patrick to start. I'm so sorry.
I'm ready for session 3 now. So
Eddie never stops. Just an FYI, guys, Eddie, I did my honors with Eddie. We went to Penn State together, and he only sleeps for 3-4 hours a day, and I actually saw it firsthand.
Black coffee helps a lot.
He's a freak, so he actually does keep rolling with the punches, and he's probably one of those hardest working academics I've ever seen in my life. And it's not to toot your horn, but I only present the truth, so that is the truth.
I was just going to say that I can just tell that he does care. He spends a lot of effort and time slowly going through a lot of steps that are really going to benefit all the students, and is going into them with effort and forcing them basically to do it on the spot and do it now and putting. And I think some people need to be thrown in the deep end to really learn, and I think that's what Eddie's doing. He's throwing them in the deep end unexpectedly, and it's good because you are going to get shaken up in industry and in real life and in interviews, and if this is the way you learn, I guess you know, you'll get, yeah, it's happening now, but yeah, some initiative would be good, and focusing on future is also obviously everyone's interest here. So I can tell Eddie cares is my point, and so do you, Nord.
Appreciate it, Patrick. All right, guys, take a bit of a breather, grab some water. Let's do round 2. Let Patrick tell you how you can sell anything, including selling something to your parents, which you've probably been doing already, but doing it with a finesse.
Getting some extra lunch money. So what was that about Donald Trump?
Oh, he hasn't paid his taxes, bro.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it just came out recently. If anybody wants to comment on that, please do. As I said, it's a 5-minute break, so if you want to say something, say it. I want to see confidence. This is all about pitching.
I'm going to get some water. I'll be back in a moment.
Go for it.
I thought he got paid like $1 a year. What would he have to pay taxes on?
No. It's everything. Apparently, he paid his daughter a consultant fee of $700,000, and he's actually only one of the very few politicians to pay so little tax. So I don't know. He's a dodgy person, of course. That's how you get rich.
Yeah, fair enough.
How is everybody feeling with studying from home? I myself am doing my master's, so I'm studying on Zoom. I call it Zoom University. So yeah, how's that all going? No interaction, of course.
Starting to get over it. I'm doing a bit better with it than I thought I would, but I'm starting to get over it.
Yeah.
And Tanner, Alexander.
A little bit hard trying to get help with everything via email and not being able to have the chance to talk to them in person. So, but just getting used to it now.
Yeah.
No, it's not too bad. Like the lecturers are pretty good as a whole. Like they're pretty good with emails and they're pretty quick with emails. And if there's a big section of work that you're stuck with, they're pretty good with jumping into, you know, a Teams call if you sort of discuss it, get your head. But it's just sort of being out of the environment that makes it hard. Like you're not sitting in the labs and you don't have your mates around, and there's the real work environment. You're not walking into it. You sort of have to create it yourself, and it's a lot sort of harder motivation wise.
How long are you guys locked in your rooms for? Does anybody can anybody tell me average a week? You know, when you guys are studying?
8 hours a day, 7 hours a day.
Say
without question.
6 to 8 hours a day, easily.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, easily, man. But especially subjects me and Amphor doing. We've got all 4th year honours subjects plus transport at the same time, so we're pretty hammered.
Wow, that's tough. So it's like full-time jobs, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. My lower back hates it.
That's good.
So, anyways, yeah. I'm probably going to be jumping off. I'd love to stick around, but I've got too much.
That's fine.
That's fine. Due by the end of the week.
That's fine. So,
yeah, the same boat. To be honest, yeah, I've got a fair bit of work that I need to do today.
No, it's all good. I guess what I'm trying to say, why this is important. It's basically this session is important in regards to the pitch. It's how do you guys. What skills you guys need to self-source? It's the skills now. What's the script? How do you, as I said before, how do you call somebody? What database do you create? So if you don't have those skills, then I highly recommend staying on. Some of you might assume you have the skills, but let me tell you, if I put you onto the spot right now and I say, give me your pitch, it will be shit. So Tanner, Anthony, do you want to be the first guinea pigs for a quick self-source pitch? Let's rate you guys.
I think Amp will be better than me, to be honest.
You're a dog.
So look, I'm not going to put you guys on the spot. I was just joking. If you guys have a lot of work to do and you guys are busy, I totally understand. This is recorded, so you guys can look at the recording. But if you guys feel as if you do need the extra practice and you need the skills and you even need the little psychological techniques, there are psychological techniques to get the win. Knowing when to speak fast, knowing when to speak slow, knowing when to use somebody's name. That's what we're talking about today. And it's the psychology of winning now, these deals, basically, because that's what you guys are doing. And if you do have the skills, then I think you guys will do well. But if for whatever reason you guys don't and you guys want to learn it, this is the place to do so.
Look, I'll definitely be watching the recording maybe in a couple of days' time when I've got a spare hour or so. But in the meantime, it's just the timetable doesn't really
All
allow
good.
for it.
All good. All good.
But
All
thank
good,
you very
Anthony.
much for all your
Yeah,
help and
thank you very
information
much.
so far.
I greatly appreciate it, Lord.
Take
And
care, gentlemen.
and to Eddie when he gets back.
Take care, gentlemen.
Right, so.
See you later.
Noor, I have a small question.
Yes, Dustin.
For the self-sourcing thing,
Yes.
do you need to wait till the build team is giving you a response that you haven't got placement, or
No. So if we were very explicit, it's on the PowerPoint that we did. We ran the 2 sessions. You have till October the 30th to self-source.
All right, cool.
And on October the 30th, we'll be sending out a form. And if you have self-sourced, you basically fill out the form and say, yes, I've self-sourced, and that will give us some numbers. So we're doing business development. So we're basically competing with you guys. So let's see who can win. Obviously, I have an advantage because I've got a database and I've got a little bit more experience, but it's not to say that you can't also succeed.
Okay.
All right, so it's 1:02. Guys, cameras on for this. I really want to see your faces. I think we'll have a little bit of fun. I hope you guys are recharged. All right, so without further ado, I've got Patrick Salome on board. I am going to basically ask him to give you a little bit of an explanation on how he would get a self-sourcing position, what he would say, what research he would do, and basically what strategy he would use to succeed. So Patrick, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Noor, for having me, and thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, basically, I didn't want this session to be something about myself or my experience or anything like that. I want to put myself into your shoes and talk to you about how I would go about self-sourcing. You're basically seeking business, you're generating leads, you're making a database, and it is sales. It actually is sales. So, I understand you guys are all third-year students or penultimate year students, basically seeking a placement or work integrated learning. And I want to touch on a couple of things that Eddie has said that very important. Perception is everything. It really is. And basically, if you haven't reflected on yourself to know what you're capable of and be able to show that online in a CV or on LinkedIn, well, that's probably because you haven't done enough reflecting, because everybody has achieved so much. One project you guys did in second year, for example, as Eddie said, you might see it as simple as changing a light bulb. But realistically, if you were to describe that, you could say that you self-managed the successful upgrade and deployment of a new environmentally safe illumination system with zero cost overruns and zero safety.
Guys, did you guys just listen to that? Did you guys just listen to that? All right, how good was that?
I'm just here to explain that it's not about bullshitting. It really isn't. It's not about fluffing yourself up to a point where it's not true, but it is about explaining yourself in a way where the perception perceived by somebody else explains realistically what you actually went through to achieve what you achieved. So I think if you all reflect about what you have done during uni projects and uni times, I'm sure somebody else would be very interested to know of what projects you were a part of. So make sure you do go and highlight all of them. To touch on how I would go about it with you, putting myself in your position, I would say that basically as a third year engineering student seeking placement, you guys are in a very lucky position, and you're in a different position than a lot of people in a lot of other universities, because you actually have multiple options, where a lot of universities do not give their students multiple options. I'm not in the course, but I have done a little bit of research and to understand what it is you guys, or how I would be in your position. And basically your options are you can sell yourself to industry and basically be employed directly by the employer on the books, whether that be a fixed term contract or whether that be a casual rate as an employee, or you actually have a pretty incredible work integrated learning scholarship that you can sell to your employer, which actually has so much more benefit to them than it does, and it does to you. And that second option gives you such a far advantage from any other university, probably in Australia. I'm not sure, but probably in Australia. So where do you start? You're probably wondering. You know, all right, yeah, I've done my CV. I have, you know, I've done, you know, my LinkedIn. I think it's good. Well, okay. Well, this is where you need to start with your preparation and your planning. So basically, with your prep and your planning, it's so typical, but it's a, you know, scenario of a who, what, where, when, why scenario. And the reason is, you know, who I'm researching now. I want to know who. Well, first of all, you know, where would I like to source this industry placement? Maybe I'm not a person that wants to travel far. Maybe I'm an international student that's going to be residing in a particular area, and I know you know, I don't have a car. I want to transport it very close. So I'm going to find a radius of, you know, where I would like to place myself, and I'm going to find out what engineering firms or companies are going to be in that radius. I live in Reservoir. I'd like to see, and I have actually done a search. There's probably about 40. You know, if I go 5 kilometres out towards Camberfield, there are extravagant amounts of you know, of engineering firms that probably, you know, would be looking to take people on. Okay, and then you're looking at you know, who they are, and who they are is important. You actually do need to do some research and write some notes. And where would you do this? In your database. How do you create a database? It's quite simple. You get an Excel spreadsheet out. I wasn't the best at Excel, but spreadsheets, you know, they're quite simple. You know, company name, contact person, you know, email address, phone number, and basically notes, if that may be. And that's as simple as it can be. And then I'm calling ABC Engineering. I have spoken to, obviously when you get into it, first you want to write notes about who it is you want to speak to. I want to speak to the director, John. Reason being, he's obviously, you know, the director of the company, and a lot of companies do have the about me's and specify who is in what position on their website. And then you could go, you know, John would like to speak to, this is John's email address, or this is the admin generic email address. And then you can start filling in the notes. So my first call, I spoke to Amanda, reception. John was not in, he was busy, call back in, you know, a couple of days. That's what Amanda said, for example. And this database you continually build on, and that's going to help you. So, but the research behind before you start is important. Noor, do you have anything to say yet? Because I've been
so basically, yeah, Patrick's hitting all the points. Research is very, very important in this at this stage. This is what gives you the bullets. It's basically to shoot. All right, you need to know the facts. What are the facts? What are they working on? So Anthony, Anthony left, but Anthony said some key words. I am interested in working. I've done some research at Lead. I can see myself going into that career. That's what you need to do, because that person who will also speak about the person you're speaking to, you need to keep their attention. They've only got 5 minutes. So it's a 5-minute pitch, and you need them to you need to convert that 5 minutes into 45 minutes. That's the goal. So we'll talk about how to go, you know, the conversion rates, how to do that. We won't get too technical. So if you do have any questions, just send it in the chat. I'll be on it. But basically, Patrick, keep going. Before Pat, Eddie, did you want to say anything? I apologize.
No, I'll let Patrick keep going. I'll take some notes and I'll add to it. But
thank you.
Yep.
I do want to say, so obviously, once you're conducting a database, that's part of your planning and preparation phase, is creating that database to make it easy for yourself as you're moving along, and you're basically building on that with who you want to speak to. So maybe don't start with, you know, a list of 100. You could start, I'm the type of person that likes to make the list as I go, but a lot of people like to prepare prior and get a feel of who they would like to go. But I don't like to procrastinate a lot. So I will make that list. Who have I contacted? Because I've already got my scripts ready and everything, which I'll go into in a moment. And then I will make the list. Okay, I've called ABC Engineering, spoken to Amanda, CEO John's not in. This is her, she's given me an email address to address if there's not already one online. And these are the notes I'm prepared to make for when I want to contact next, so you can always refer back. Now, what exactly Noor said, what are they actually achieving? What does this engineering firm do? You know, they're an engineering firm. Maybe they specialize in drafting trusses, roof trusses, is that something I'm aligned into actually wanting to do and wanting to pursue? Maybe I'm open, I have no real barriers that are stopping me from going into one direction or another, or maybe I really want to be like Anthony and go into, being on site, even laboring work is not a problem for me. And these sorts of things you have to consider when you're planning. So basically, with the how, it's how am I going to, basically get in touch with them? Okay, well, typically in my experience, it's shown that there is a small formula that says, typically 7 points of contact result in a reward for your effort. And when I say points of contact, thinking, I'm not going to be speaking to someone 7 times before an interview. Well, probably you are, because you're going to be making that first initiation. Maybe they're not in. You might need to send an email. That email you might need to follow up with another email. That email could, reflect back into a phone call. That phone call could reflect back into a video call on Zoom, and then again maybe a in-person presentation. So there is typically it does result in about 7. So sorry, guys. I'm just realizing the battery here is running quite low. I'm just about to. I'll be
Patrick,
back.
Yeah, take your time. I'll emphasize that last bit there when you talk about the 7 points of contact and the follow-up. So persistence pays off, right? So I typically get emails from students saying, "Oh, but the company is not responding. What do I do? Oh, but I've sent 2 emails. What do I do?" There is a point to which you're persistent, and there is a point at which you realize that something is just not working, right? And you have to ask yourself, why? When you become more experienced, you sort of realize, okay, they're not responding because there are these factors. There are always assumptions, but you get very good at making assumptions with evidence based on your prior experiences. But being persistent, following up, right? The easiest way to get rejected is email. It's very, very easy to get rejected. You send an email, I don't read it, I don't have time, end of story. Phone call is a little bit harder to get rejected. Still rejected. You get telemarketers calling you, "Sir, I've got a credit card offer for you." Then you dismantle them with counter arguments, and then they just hang up on you instead of you hanging up on them, which is always a little bit of fun. But the hardest way to get rejected is if you go face-to-face somewhere and you approach the company. Of course, you have to have the door open for you. And that's possible with SMEs, much harder to do with really big corporations, but you can make that happen. Now, yes, we're in COVID-19 mode, so we can't exactly just roam and go and visit companies and do what we want. But one thing that I didn't mention is that you guys have from now, technically, worst case scenario, till the end of February, to have a piece of paper that's signed saying you're doing work integrated learning. That's a lot of fucking time, guys. A lot of time. Yeah. So that 7-step approach and that points of contact, you got a lot of time to put it to practice, but don't wait till January, February. Do it now and use that lead generation methodology and keep the notes on companies on one side, people that you know through LinkedIn, through your personal contacts, etc., etc. Start to build that tree diagram of where are the people, where are the companies, what do I have to offer them? It's a big, complicated diagram, but you got to start now to start mapping it out. The more people you meet, now it's really going to hit home. Gee, I wish I actually met more people when Eddie was saying in second year, network. I didn't see why it was important. Oh shit, now it's important. Now I got to go and do it. It's funny when Will comes around, how active people become on LinkedIn. I'll get like 50 requests from people, from students, from their networks, etc. But now's the time to do it. So build that table, build those contacts. And as you start to generate leads, you can take notes. You can also leverage each other's contacts. Yeah. So one of your colleagues might have certain contacts that you don't because you're not going in that path. So share the contacts, but don't bombard the same company with 50 different students just because they said no to one or they said no. They're probably going to say no to the other one as well. You should find out why that no happened, but create that table and follow it on. Patrick, all yours.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. A bit embarrassing talking about planning and preparation and having the battery nearly die, but here we are. So yeah, basically, you know, obviously it's about organization at the beginning, because some people, as I say, especially, you know, uni graduates, I've learned, really do like to, you know, they have good organizational skills, and they really do like to plan things before they execute. But eventually you have to execute. So you have to prepare to execute. And what that execution is building a list of basically people and industries that you would like to work for and with. And I guess in regards to beginning there, you know, presentation is key. So Eddie, this whole time has been preparing you guys for presentation, and that is, you know, after the planning and preparation, you need to be presented, you know, physically and you know, in a good fashion. Obviously, we haven't been able to go to the hairdressers. Lucky my girlfriend, she's, you know, can cut my hair, but you know, we need to look sharp and polished. So exactly, and presentation is very important. So because now we do video calls, so people would like to see, you know, someone who's looking sharp and on their best foot forward, basically. And that all comes with the plan, you know, with how you can present yourself. And obviously online, social media, LinkedIn's, and your CV, it's all part of presentation. So that is very, very important. Now, once I think you can get to a point where you know what area you want to look for, you know, a couple of different places you would like to apply, you know what they do, and you know basically what you're capable of and how you could benefit them, which is all part of your CV and everything that you can provide that you've planned and researched prior. It comes to a point where you need to present and you need to have a script ready, so that once you're put in a position where you have to explain what it is you're offering, that you have the best possible shortened version of what it is that you're able to present. And in this scenario, I believe your biggest weapon is your work integrated learning scholarship, because no one else can offer that. No other university can offer that to a company. And basically, you know, once you're in the phase of smashing through your pipeline, I call that the Excel spreadsheet a pipeline, and you're building on that pipeline, you're going to be presenting to a lot of administrators. We call them gatekeepers, as me and Noor has described them. The gatekeeper's job is to keep you away from the person that you're trying to reach, because they don't have a lot of time to spare. And because, you know, pretty important people, and your job is to make it as easy as possible, but not going through much detail to explain to the admin, almost insinuating in a way potentially that you have previously potentially had a conversation with the director, John, about this. But my point is here, you need to get through the gatekeeper. And in sales, getting through the gatekeeper can be very difficult sometimes, and there is probably 3 outcomes you're going to get from making a phone call in the beginning. So I'll go through that. You're basically going to make the phone call, and you're going to get a couple of options, a few. You're going to get potentially asked to a rejection, and you're going to get asked to potentially email the information that you want to present because they're too busy. You're going to potentially get put onto the person that you're asking for, because obviously in this scenario, you've done your research, you're asking specifically to speak to the person that you know is in charge and is able to assist you. So in this case, you're not asking for, you know, can I speak to the manager that could help me with recruiting? No, you're specifically asking to speak to John Worsfold, for example, because he's the director, and the pitch could come something like this. Okay, you could say, you know, hi, am I speaking to ABC Engineering? Yes, you are. My name is Patrick Salome. I'm a 3rd year student at Trobe University. I just needed to chat with John Worsfold just to talk about that 6-month engineering internship program. Is he free right now? Pause. Something as simple as that. You've given her enough information to know what it is that you're talking about, but you haven't gone into so much detail where you've bombarded her and confused her where she knows it could be a waste of time for John. Do you, Noor or Eddie, have anything potentially about that? Because I'm not sure if I'm wording it correctly according to what your work integrated learning plan is, but That's my take on basically how someone could go about pitching it to the administrator. So obviously,
all I've got to say is keyword here is internship when you're going out to industry. Will is an internal university word we use. A lot of industry use internship. But what you've got to explain, key number here, 6-month internship. This is where you basically win it. So you've got to be very explicit on that. So 6-month internship, don't say will to industry. Once they speak to me, because that will eventually happen, that's when I start to use key terminology.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. You shouldn't overkill it at the start because you'll confuse people. Right? If they're not in administration of a university, they're probably not going to be familiar with the terminology, but everyone knows what an internship is, right? So keep it simple. Later on, we'll open up the can and show them what's inside, but 6 months, the key value propositions here is 6 months, right? That's gold. You can be at a company for 6 months. Companies immediately know, oh yeah, from my experience, it takes 2 months to start delivering value. Shit, by 6 months, you're going to be part of the company and I'm probably going to recruit you to keep you on, right? So tick in the box. Second thing that's value proposition here for the company as well is that you are committed to this. So you're not studying at the same time. You're not at the university listening to lecturers yap on for 6 hours straight about topics that you probably don't care about at that time because you're focused on something else. You are 100% dedicated to that particular job. Now, that's not the first thing you tell them because that's a little bit more detail, but you got to have the hook. And once you sink the hook in, you've got the fish, you got to reel it in. And as you're reeling it in, there's certain counter moves that you can put in. Yeah, they're interested. Now tell them the next bit. I'm there with you for 6 months. I'm focused on the job because I'm not at the university. I'm getting credit for being at the company. Oh, that's good. Because now I know that you're incentivized by numerous things. You're incentivized by being here and learning from the company. You're incentivized because you're getting credit for it, right? Those two things are real catch. You're doing your capstone project experience as part of it, right? So there's a lot of value to the company in having you do that. And you can then use statistics that we have on record here, which Nora and I will provide you with, that 86% of students that go through work integrated learning end up getting jobs at companies that they do work integrated learning in. Now, why is that important to the company? Most companies are not just taking you on for work experience because they want to do service to the community. Like I said, don't forget the #1 goal of the company is to what? Make cash, money. That's what they're there to do. So if you can help them make cash, then you got a winning formula, right? But the reason I'm saying this to you is that once you make that sales point, as first starting point, you start to open up the door. Then they have an interest. If there's no interest whatsoever, you'll be able to gauge whether it was a hard no or whether it was a hard no, as in right now we're not hiring because of this, we're not doing that. You can then approach that with a certain closure. You can say, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Hope your business does, come out of this, stronger, faster, better. If there's any opportunities in the near future, my CV is available. Please, get in contact with me. More than happy to hear from you. So you didn't close the door like an asshole and say, well, stuff you, which some students have done before, and I've seen that. It looks really, really bad. You stay professional and you keep the door just a little bit open, because some companies are going through difficulties right now. But your value proposition here is, from the back end, you don't have to talk about this, is that companies are not going to be hiring $150,000 salaried engineers right after COVID-19 if they're thinking about survival mode. They're going to balance between junior and senior staff. So you got a lot of things going for you right now you can take advantage of. So think about how you're going to position yourself. And Patrick's point about making that initial phone call, starting that conversation, that's to see where you get the lead. Statistics don't lie. I'm not sure, Patrick, in your industry, but if you make 100 phone calls, 2 of them will result in sales. Now you might say to yourself, shit, I'm gonna make 100 phone calls to get 2. That's statistically cold calling. If you're strategic, you can turn 10 into 2. And if you're really good at your job, you can turn 5 into 2 if you're really, really good at it. But that takes time and practice and information that you need to have. But cold calling is approximately 2 out of 100. That's why these people call you and say, would you like another credit card? Would you like to change your power company? Would you like this? Would you like that? Everyone always wonders, why the hell they keep calling me? No one ever accepts. Oh, they do. 2 out of 100 accept. And that's good enough, because out of those 2, I'm making profit and I'm paying you peanuts. So it's worthwhile doing. It works. People on LinkedIn do it as well. Eddie, I'm looking to connect. I've got this business proposal. I don't give a shit, but someone will. And that's it. That's the way it works. Play the statistics. You guys have a better advantage because you're not just anyone calling. You're someone who has value. You're someone that has a valuable product to offer, which is what Patrick was alluding to, right? You have something valuable. It's not offered by every university. It's 6 months. It has that value. Use it to your advantage. Sorry, Patrick, I went off.
No, you're 100% correct. They do have a product to offer. You're not just selling yourself. You're actually selling a product as well as your value with that product to a company who can actually use you. So, and that's to say now as well, once you've made the initial contact with the administrator or whoever it may be that, you know, first picks up that phone call, if they do ask you to email them, already have prepared a template. I'm not sure how to go about that with Norton and Eddie, but a template is going to be critical. I used to have in my signatures a template for every single possibility that could come from speaking to whichever industry I'm looking into. So basically, and do not make the rookie mistake of forwarding an email that you've sent to a person prior that still has the links to that person's email and name and where it says forward. Do not make that rookie mistake. Make sure it is completely clean. Make sure every email that you forward has been cleansed out, a brand new name, the industry partner you're looking at exactly, with importance as per their specific role that you're looking at. So tailor it every single time and don't get lazy. That's my point there. I also want to keep going and say, all right, so basically once now you have the option of being rejected, and don't forget Eddie saying it, every no will lead you closer to a yes, every single no. You could call 3 people and the third person will give you the job. You could call 1,000 and the 1,001 will give you the job. You do not know where, God or fate or whatever you believe in will take you. You just have to get started and you have to execute. So if you do not get the rejection and you do not get asked to email, you ask for the email if they are not hiring. So, okay, administrator, I understand you're not in your growth phase. You're not hiring right now because you heard that I was looking for an internship. That is absolutely fine. Do you mind if I just send some quick information through email? I'll just get the generic email. You could forward it to John maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Here's the email address. Thank you very much. That goes in your database and you forward. Maybe you don't do it then and there, but you go through the calls, and at the end of the calls, you spend about 10 minutes changing and going through every single email address that you've got that wasn't interested, that you're going to email some information from the template to. Sorry, I'm speaking fast. Now, you're going to be moving to the potential that you actually get put in touch with the director themselves, or I say director, but I'm talking about the person that you've researched in the company that is going to be making the decision of hiring you or not. And once you get put onto them directly, now not only do you need another full pitch, but you actually need to have a really polished way of describing your value, what you know about the company, and what you know about the product that you're hoping them to achieve in this scenario. And you have to get it done real quick, because this is what we call an elevator pitch, Eddie touched on before. The elevator pitch is where you're stuck with somebody in an elevator and you only have basically a couple of minutes from floor to floor to explain what what you do and how you could benefit them in their business, because you know what they're worth basically. So let's get into this pitch that you're going to be discussing with the director. Let's say his name is John. The administrator, whoever they may be, puts you on to John. Hello, hey John, thank you for your time. Thanks for the call. I just wanted to ask if it's a good time for you to talk right now. So you always have to thank them for their time every time. They are busy people. And then you have to ask them permission to have a very brief conversation. That is important every time. You're speaking to someone who's very busy and they've done a lot with their life. So always ask for permission. I just wanted to let you know, it's just going to be a couple of minutes. Thank you, John. Thanks, mate. So John, my name is Patrick Salome. I'm actually a third-year student. I'm a third-year engineering student from the Trobe Uni. I'm undertaking a work-integrated program that I think you're going to be very excited about, and I'm doing that in my 4th year. So that is where I actually get to work with an industry partner for a full 6 months, uninterrupted. And this is probably the only program like this, by the way, in Australia, John. As you know, John, engineering students in the past would take a 3-month internship, but in this scenario, this is different, where you will have me undertake a full 6 month, full-time, uninterrupted, where I actually gain credit points for my 800 hours of work. Have you ever done anything like this before, John? So sort of just obviously keeping him in touch, but obviously asking, continually mentioning his name, because everybody's name is like, candy to someone. If you call my name out, I'm automatically reintroduced and in touch with the conversation. And then you could say, once you get to that point, you could say, John, there are 2 ways for this to be facilitated. So, or for me to be compensated for my work. So John, I can be employed directly for 6 months and be on your books as per, a fixed term contract or a casual rate. Or, and John, this is where I see so much benefit for you, is this incredible program where we have something called a university facilitated scholarship, where you can donate $10,000 for my scholarship that I will be paid via the university over my time there, over my 6 months. And basically that is all that you need to incorporate for my 800 hours of work. And I would love to discuss more about what I have achieved, obviously in a more, in a better suited time with you, potentially where we can go through my CV. How does that sound to you?
I'd like to hire you, Patrick. Want to get you on my books here, John here. That was great. That was really, really great. And there's one last bit there that makes it even, obviously some of these guys will know that it's a tax write-off for the company when it's a donation. The companies will notice donating to universities is a tax write-off. So they get that additional benefit of doing it that way. It basically costs them hardly anything. That's the value. But that was a great pitch, Patrick. Really, really good. Hopefully everyone understands. You can see the terminology that's being used, the level of personalization, the politeness. That's why I said in the chat, politeness will get you a long way. Noah is very good at doing this. I always tell him not to do it with me because I already know he's polite, but he does it to me every time, right? Are you available? Thank you very much. I'm like, hey, relax, man. We know each other for a long time. But he's done it so many times and he does it so well that it opens up certain doors that other people wouldn't be able to open up. And Patrick very much so has the same ability to do that. You guys got to build that up, that politeness, the professionalism, the calmness, right? Know your product, know who you are, and know what it is that you're talking about. It's a simple conversation. And likability, remember, I've told you guys this before, and Patrick just touched on this. Likability and capability are equally important. Equally important. Doesn't matter what people tell you. If you're not a likable person, it doesn't matter how good you are. They're not going to hire you. Because I've got to look at you every day in the company, and I've got to work with you every day, and I've got to communicate every day with you, or at least someone in my team. So make yourself likable. And okay, some people have more likable faces than others. This is no disrespect to anyone, right? We don't all look the same. It's fine. And some people are racist and some people are not. It doesn't matter. But making yourself likable just by doing the basics, which what Patrick just said now, the personalization touch in your conversation with John, the worst thing that's going to happen is John's going to say no, but he's going to think, oh, that person was very polite. I actually liked him. Unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity, but I liked him. And this happened, was it 2 years ago when my brother came in that time? So my brother came into one workshop, reflecting back on 2 individuals. One was Alex Vollerberg, and the other individual was, remind me again.
I don't remember. I actually don't remember.
David O'Dwyer. Sorry, David O'Dwyer. He went to lead engineering. So my brother was standing at the back. He very randomly dropped in. And by the way, my brother has his own company, civil engineering company. And he was there, so we wanted to use him. I stood up students and said, okay, who wants to introduce themselves? The same thing that Patrick just did now, I got the students to do and just give us a 60-second pitch like you're introducing yourself. My brother's standing there. You walk up to him and you talk to him. 2 different approaches. Alex, who by the way is a very good communicator, but very robotic-like structure in the pitch. It was as if it was programmed and you hit the button played. There was just no warmth about the conversation. David O'Dwyer, on the other hand, very country kid, you know, blokey bloke type guy. We went up, g'day, my name's, you know, David, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Very casual conversation, got all the points through, but there was just a touch of likability and personalization in that my brother said, okay, I would hire David over Alex. Alex seemed too robotic to me because I don't know who the real Alex is at this particular point. And Dave just came across as very genuine, very likable, and very honest and transparent. You know what you're getting with this guy. But they both said the same thing. They both had their will pitches, very much like Patrick had. All the key facts were there, but it was a different approach. So that likability, that personalization says a lot about you. So don't program it. It's like writing the same old shitty email and sending it through, as Patrick said, forwarding that email without adding a touch of personalization. People can smell a copy of an email or structure a million miles away, especially experienced people. So don't make it too robotic. Like add a little bit of personalization in there and not just the name and the company because it's too obvious. Add it in. That was great, Patrick. So guys, feedback, because I think you guys need to now reflect on what Patrick said and think about how you would have pitched that particular idea. And Patrick, what do you think we get one of these guys here, or two guys, to actually pitch us their pitch? So, okay, Patrick is one company, Nor's another company, and I'll be another company. So we're going to pick you guys at random. You don't need any preparation for this, but very similar to what Patrick just did now. Very much what Patrick just did now. We're the company CEOs, general managers, whatever you want to call us, and you're going to pitch to us now that perception. You need to ignore that we know each other, by the way. That's going to help a lot. But we're going to pick some people at random to hear your pitch, and then we're going to rate them. Then we're going to rate you. Patrick, Noah, and myself will rate you, but we'll also get everyone else to rate you as well based on that pitch. So let's pick Ali first. He's like, oh shit, Eddie, why'd you pick me? You got 60 seconds, Ali.
Yeah, hey.
You just knocked on our door, so what do you want?
Yeah, hey, my name is Ali. I'm an engineering student at Trobe University, and I want to tell you about a program that is. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Yeah.
It's all right. Practice, man. Practice.
Yeah.
Keep going.
It's an opportunity for fourth year engineering student where I have the opportunity to work with an industry and get credit for my effort and hours. I know this is something new, but if you want to hear more about it, I would love you to grab a coffee with me and tell you more about this opportunity.
All right. Okay. Not bad first go. Not bad first go.
We need to fine tune that pitch, okay? Fine tune that pitch.
And guys, by the way, this is the time to make mistakes and just give it a raw go. Who gives a shit? Look, at the end of the day, none of us started off being brilliant salespeople. You got to learn it. You got to learn how to do it and build the confidence. This is why we push you out of your comfort zone in ITI and EEP. Stand up, pitch, tell me, force you, because it happens later on. If you don't present from first year to fourth year ever, and you get to your first job interview, you'll probably fall unconscious from how nervous you're going to be. So just relax, take a breather. The worst thing that can happen is someone says no. That's it. So what?
And guys, just to interrupt, I mean, it's true. You need to be broken to be rebuilt. And basically, this is a way to be broken. Basically, it's just, where you think, you put yourself in a deep end and you just throw yourself out there because you get criticism, and that criticism will help you rebuild. But I want to specify, actually think about what it is you're trying to achieve before you talk. Like, you're coming to an engineering firm and you're hoping that these people will hire you, but you're doing that in a way where you're presenting a hook, an offer to them that they can make the most out of, that they can benefit more than you can. So actually say that to the person so they know you're not just asking for something, but you're giving them something as well. That's all I have to input.
All right, let's get the females on board. How about that? Because let's Emma, 60-second pitch. Microphone on. We can't hear you, Emma.
Yeah, something's wrong with your audio.
Good time for it to go wrong.
All right, maybe go on pause until we fix it. Bethany, 60 seconds, go.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. My name is Bethany Goody, and I'm a third-year civil engineering student at Trobe University, and I'm currently sourcing a position for a 6-month internship. And I've researched your company, and they have everything that I'm looking for, and I think that I could be a great asset to your team. A little bit more about this internship is that it's 6 months uninterrupted internship where I work for you guys directly, and I'm credited for my 800 hours of work. There's 2 ways that we could do this, either through a scholarship through the university that you guys make as a donation, or I can be directly employed. I'd like to talk about this further with you at a time that suits better, and we can discuss my CV and everything in more detail.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's
Hired.
amazing.
Hired.
That's
All right, Bethany.
Yeah.
That was a great pitch.
All right. That's something that this is recorded, guys. So what you guys obviously need to reflect on that, but that was really, really, really good.
Really,
all right.
This was recorded, no?
Yes, this is recorded.
Oh, crap. I must have sworn at least 50 times.
No, I'm going to make it private. And it will, so we use Chatham House rules. So if you guys want to search up Chatham House rules, everything that is said is kept confidential. If you break it, we can sue you. So Chatham House rules applies to this. I should have said that at the beginning. I'm going to go for a student who's actually put a lot of practice, and I'm very, very proud of him. So Mun, 60 seconds, go. Look at him. Microphone on, Mun.
G'day, how you going? Name's
No,
Martin.
not Martin. Sorry.
Oh man.
Hey. No. Look, right now, Martin took the opportunity, so Martin gets the pitch.
All right, go Martin. Go Martin.
Oh,
sorry.
Martin came in slide
right.
tackle. Go on, Martin.
G'day, how you going? My name's Martin. I'm a third-year civil engineering student studying here at La Trobe. I've been interested in your company where I'd like to apply for a 6-month term internship where I'll be working directly under your company, and this could be sorry.
It's fine.
Where I'll be working a total of 800 hours, and I'll be credited for this in my course. And the 2 ways, sorry.
So that's fine.
I'm prepared, yeah.
That's fine. So
the key here, Martin, is and this goes for everyone. If you talk really fast,
yeah,
more likely to jumble up your sentences and words and forget where you are. So try to make it more organic rather than pre-programmed, because you're not there yet with that pre-programmed pitch. It'll get there eventually, but go about it logically. What you need to say to them in that first few sentences, how you build it up, and just go a little bit slower. Like Bethany's was great, but it was just a tad too fast, because there are people that won't be able to follow as quickly as you're speaking. We can, because we know this stuff, but if someone else is, just go a little bit slower, right? To make sure they understand. Because the worst thing that can happen is in 60 seconds you pitch, but you were so fast, you said everything that needed to be said, but that person's head is spinning because you spoke so fast. They didn't understand anything. So just go a little bit slower. You won't mumble up your words when it comes to that point. And if it does happen, happens to me all the time, by the way, guys, I'm speaking very fast. I just take a breather and I take a step back and I say, apologies, and go back. That's fine. No one's going to hate you for it, but don't just blitz through it. It's just not going to add any value, but that was good.
And just to tell everybody, we're not all perfect. That's one of my biggest flaws. So when I get excited actually about something, I call Eddie up. Within 10 seconds, I try to mention everything to him, and Eddie just sits there going, "What the hell are you on about?" So I have to take a deep breath, and then I have to go through it very, very slowly, because I'm just super excited. My brain is running at 100 miles per hour, and it's not because I have anxiety or anything. It's just that my mind just wants to put everything to him, expecting Eddie to pick up on it. But it's solidified in my mind, but not in Eddie's. So you have to explain things very slowly, and the ums and the ahs. So this is the best advice I ever got. I actually got this from Patrick. Rubber band, when you're practicing, every time you say and or release the rubber band, all right? Like a little punishment. I'm telling you, no. This when I went to Penn State, when I did my presentation, I also got told off. So I try to do it, but we can't sometimes because this is unscripted. But right now, you guys are going to create a script, rubber band. Every time you guys say it, instead take a deep breath. When you're trying to say and, take a deep breath, or just take a little bit of a pause and then continue. Okay. All right. So
I'll do one more.
Matt, I'm gonna
Does
put
anyone
Matt.
want to voluntarily go? So Man, are you going to go?
Yeah, let's go for Man.
Hi Patrick, hi Eddie, and hi Noel. Thank you very much for your time. So yeah, so I'm here today to talk about the opportunity about the internship for 6 months non-interrupted. So we're going to be
take a breath.
Yeah, so I'm here to contribute and give. So I'm research to your company, and I really like the value and the bringing, what the customer, the experience you want to give to the customer, and what value you give back to the society. So I really love that, and I would like to contribute to your company and bring as much value as I can. I'm not sure what to say next, but yeah.
Oh yeah, Min, and how are you going to do that?
So yeah, I'm very
because you have a work integrated learning program that you can use in your benefit here in this point. So okay, so you want to bring me benefit, Min? Yeah, okay. How are you going to do that?
So firstly, the program is not interrupted, and I also got a credit for my study. And throughout this study, I need to do the capstone project where I firstly I do some research and bring the value so to improve on the current process or the current product. And also at the end of this program, we need to produce a video about the company and what we're working on. So that's going to be a good marketing material for the company and bring more awareness for students to work and bring more talent to your company later on.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Well, you
That's interesting.
value added it. you went above and beyond. So
yeah, just for all of you guys, I was just going to put my little input in is obviously at the end, we can say a really big speech and forget that basically someone is listening along, but you don't want to leave it empty at the end. You should actually ask a question to initiate the next bit of conversation. So it should finish with, how does that sound, Patrick or Noor or Eddie, or you know, is that something you're looking for? And these two questions, you could use that every time. And basically it's just initiating a little bit more conversation for the next, you know, bit of conversation that could lead to a sit down, a video call, a interview, somewhere a bit more at an appropriate time for that person you're speaking to. That's it, but perfect, man, it was good.
That's awesome. All right. So, Eddie, so Patrick still has a couple of stuff.
Yeah, go for it, Patrick.
To explain. Now I know some people. How does everybody want to keep going on? Because I know we've said a lot. I think, as in me, Eddie, and Pat, we're more than happy to keep going. There's a lot more. There's so much we can turn these things into 3-day workshops if we really wanted to. Because sales, there's just so much about it. So, do you guys want to keep going, or are you guys exhausted? So, put your hands up.
When we say keep going, like we're not talking about keep going for another half an hour. We're talking about for 3 days.
So yeah, just use the hands up function. Hands up function, guys, please. Just it tells me. All right, hands up.
If you want to grab your lunch, by the way, guys,
Yeah.
you got something to eat. Grab your lunch because I haven't had my lunch either. But
so yeah, even if you guys just want to take a quick break, you know, 10 minutes, we'll come back at 2. How does that sound, guys?
Get some noodles in a bowl or something.
Yeah, and just listen. This is a lot better than doing vector calculus or control systems. Let me tell you that. If I had this experience as an undergraduate.
There's a few maths teachers listening on this, by the way.
Is there? Oh, no way. Oh, no.
Catherine Seddon's here.
Catherine Seddon will be swearing at me.
Patrick, I have a question for you if you have a minute. I've sort of been ghosted by a recruiter.
Yep.
And how often would you say that happens?
You're talking ghosted by an actual company or just a recruiter?
A recruiter for the company. So I was in contact with them and then just no response, nothing.
Look, my answer, Lauren, would be very often you will be ghosted. Very often you will be rejected. And every rejection is going to lead you closer. Do not feel like you weren't good enough. Do not feel like there is 1,000 possibilities out there why you didn't get chosen or what happened. They could have hired their cousin who was in the exact same position as you. You just don't know what's going on the other end. Don't take it personally. Keep your head up, know your worth, and move on. And basically the next call you're going to make, because obviously, can I ask Lauren as well, how did you get in touch with this recruiter?
They got in touch with me. And
how did that happen? From LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Yeah, from LinkedIn. Okay. And are you following a lot of recruiters?
No, I think what happened is stage 4 hit of lockdown. Yep. And then obviously everyone got quite busy and I just stopped getting replies. So yep. I just expected to receive some sort of rejection or something, not just ghosting. That was my question.
Ghosting, yeah, no, fair enough. An official, letter explaining, it's happened to me many times, where they just don't respond. And then, what's funny is they probably will come back to you at another point, in another way, whether that be on Facebook or LinkedIn a year later or something. Recruiters will forever be chasing. But yeah, I think good on you. You're obviously on LinkedIn, you're active and you're getting in touch with the recruiters. And I'd say for everybody listening now, follow a lot of different recruiters and senior recruiters, because they could have positions for you. But the way, we're talking about going about it is basically looking up specific engineering firms, specific to what you're looking to achieve out of the placement, and then using and building your own database, not relying and putting all your eggs in the basket of the recruiter who might have only a specific amount of roles and might be looking to recruit in particular to their best benefit. That's my piece of advice.
Diversify. Hedge your bets. All right. Don't always.
That's all right.
On that one offer coming through, just diversify. Have multiple eggs in multiple baskets, and yeah, just always look at that. But this is a funny one actually for all of you. So this is similar, very similar now to approaching the opposite sex at a nightclub. And I hope all of you have gone to a nightclub or a bar or something, but this is the exact same situation. All right, how do you approach the opposite sex without making it awkward? How do you make it flow? Flow is very important. Open-ended questions. How do I not make it awkward? Sometimes looks, it's not about looks. I think it's all about personality. Sometimes you can have just the best personality and you will get the most chicks or the most guys. All right. You'll be the friendliest person. So it's the exact same thing, but now you're doing it with recruiters. All right. Are you smooth? Are you talking about the right topics? Do you want to get on the good books of the gatekeeper? So what I usually do, my technique is to flirt a little bit with a gatekeeper, whether male or female. It's actually a good technique. How's your day going? How's it been? I make a little joke about COVID, trying to survive COVID. Hopefully the world doesn't end. A little joke sometimes helps. You just want to make the transition very smooth. And I know Pat's used it multiple times, and Eddie for sure has used it multiple times. But these are techniques also. Sometimes universities don't like talking about them, and not even you're talking about them. Some people just don't have the experience to talk about them. But we're bringing this now. We're bringing this to you guys, and I want you guys to know that this is serious. I'm not lying. This is honest feedback. This is just from experience. This is from calling companies. So very similar of how you would approach a girl or approach a boy. You're doing the same thing. You don't want to scare them off. You don't want to come in too fast. Everything's a balancing act. I hope I didn't freak anybody out. And it doesn't have to be the opposite sex. It can be the same sex, comfortable with everything. So just trying to be politically correct here.
Does anybody else have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Patrick, in your opinion, can someone be a bit too pushy? Like I message on LinkedIn a lot of recruiters for these major companies. They read my message. They reply. Some of them reply to me at least once. Then I message them again, and they don't get back to me. Or sometimes I will read my message, and then they won't reply. And I'll send them another message, and they will read that, and they won't reply. How do I get about, how do I deal with that?
Okay. Yeah, fair question. I think, as I said, okay, so you're basically going out there, you're messaging recruiters, but in that way of going in that direction that you're taking, you are putting your eggs in the basket of someone who obviously has been hired by the company and their role is to employ somebody. But the thing is, would you say that a recruiter would benefit from employing you, Abish? Because they have to recruit somebody who's going to be in that position for a specific amount of time before they get paid. So I wouldn't be looking at recruiters. That's my opinion.
Okay.
And the reason I wouldn't be looking at recruiters, they only get paid after someone's in the position for, I think it's minimum of 6 months or 1 year. Now, if they think you have the slight option of not fulfilling your role for that period of time, well, their best interest, they're not going to invest you as their best interest. That's my opinion. And how do you deal with that? Don't take it personal. Everyone has a job. Everybody needs to make money. And now this is where you can outshine the recruiter by going directly to the company that they're recruiting for, okay, and letting them know that you have such good capabilities because you've studied for 3 years, you're hungry, you're out there, you're looking, you're searching, you're showing initiative, and you're going and you're calling. And then after you're calling, you're leaving an email. And after you email, you're calling again on another day and you're speaking to a different admin, asking for that same person to speak to. Now he's heard from 2 different admins. He's seen 1 email. You're building that familiarity. And then at a point, you're going to probably get in touch with the right person that's going to land you that position you're looking for, which is just a 6-month internship with the potential to actually work for longer if it aligns with both of you. Because you actually could work somewhere and not enjoy it and want to be working for another type of engineering industry. So you don't also want to lock yourself somewhere. In a way, obviously you would love an opportunity, but it's good to be put in a position where it is a 6-month internship so that you will know if you want to continue to.
I've even contacted like talent acquisition managers and they just read my messages and they just completely ignore me. I feel kind of stupid when I message them and go out of my way. Sometimes I believe it might be like, that's why I brought up earlier about the grades situation. I didn't do too well in my first year. And when I send them my transcript and my CV and resume and everything, I sometimes feel they're not getting back to me just because of my grades, my poor grades, which was only for 6 subjects. I didn't do too well, but ever since then I've been doing well. So do they really look at the grades? Like that's my real concern, because I feel like that's my only thing that's dragging me down.
Fair enough. I don't think you need to take it personal. I think you've got really good communication skills, to be honest with you, to put yourself in a public forum and be able to ask these questions. But I think that as Lucas, I might be wrong, Noor.
No, that's right.
Lucas, as Lucas stated, he's the type of recruiter. He's a recruiter. He's the type of recruiter that's going to just have a conversation. He wants to ask you what you're hoping to achieve. He wants to ask you what plans you have for the future. He wants to know if you've got a girlfriend, if you work out. Why? Because he's looking at these particular interpersonal skills, which I see in you. So basically try and calm it down, casual it up, and basically just maybe ask the team, experts, the recruiters, hey, are you looking, because maybe there's something that you're mentioning in the pitch that shouldn't be mentioned at that point. You might just smoothen it out and just say, hey, recruiter, I'm a 3rd-year graduate looking for a 6-month internship. Do you have any places available? Are you aware of anybody looking for interns currently? That could just smoothen out the whole process. You're not wasting nobody's time. You probably will get a response because you haven't mentioned a whole lot of things that they're not interested in before you get to your point. And now you're just asking if they have any interns. Okay, well, I am a recruiter. No, I don't. No, sorry about that, mate, but I'll be in touch if I do. Perfect. You still may not get responses, but I think the majority of the people who aren't responding, there'll be a big percentage that will if you shorten that whole thing up.
Pat. So Abhishwa, this is for everybody else. This whole concept of adding a LinkedIn person on somebody on a talent coordinator or a manager on LinkedIn and then sending them this LinkedIn message that's saying you're going for it, you're not going to get a success rate. Maybe it's going to be 0.2, 0.1. This is now the concept of sliding into the DMs. All right, you've got to create. They've got to be familiar with you. So you add them. All right, perfect. They've accepted. That means, and if they've looked at your profile, even better. But they're getting a ton of these messages They're getting a ton of these messages because they're on this, especially if they have a gold LinkedIn account or a recruiting LinkedIn account, they get a ton of these messages. So how do you stand out? Okay, well, you've added each other. He writes a post, comment, like, comment, well done, so-and-so. All right, another post, like, comment. You create a project, create a status, create a little bit of rapport that just will happen naturally because you're familiar with each other. And then for whatever reason, they will, most of the time, a talent coordinator will say, this job's available, or I'm looking for this internship, students who can do internship. You can change a 3-month internship into a 6-month will if you really wanted to. It's how you convert it. So it's not just randomly going up to somebody, connecting with them and saying, hey, do you have a job? It doesn't work like that. All right. Taking the time to be familiar, taking the time to build that rapport, getting them to be on your radar. All right. So-and-so has like, everybody looks at their like posts. If you look at how many people look at your story on LinkedIn, it's the exact same thing. People are looking at how many people like their statuses, how many people are interacting with them, how many views they're getting. They're getting all that analytics, all right? They're switched on. So take advantage of that. What I'm seeing right now is I'm going to send this big pitch via LinkedIn message and basically turn off this person. That's what you're doing. You're turning them off.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Noor. And thank you, Patrick.
Can I just add a comment, Noor?
Yes, go for it, Tim.
More in relation to what Lauren was saying earlier. There's a number of subjects I do the will admin for, and there's a lot of students that are struggling to get placements at the moment. So just persevere. The engineering, I don't think, has been impacted as much as some of the other subjects I work on, like, you know, physio and students trying to get into agriculture. They're having real problems because, you know, the businesses are just trying to get by at the moment through COVID. But yeah, just persevere, Lauren, in regards to what you were saying earlier. Just give it time. You'll get there eventually, yeah.
That's amazing, Tim. Thank you so much. So what we'll probably end off with Pat. So Pat's going to talk about the 3 probabilities, so the 3 cases or the 3 trees or a decision tree, and how he would react in those 3 scenarios. Then after, I'll see if Pat can do a little bit of a summary, and then we're going to open it up for question time. Okay. And basically, if you have any questions, how I would do this. So we've already answered the one about LinkedIn. Be smooth. Don't be up on their grill. Let them come to you. Build your following base. If you only got 85 followers, it's like this, and it's a shitty LinkedIn account, you're not going to get a position. You fill it up, like Eddie said, you fill it up to the brim with just all the information you can. Start connecting with those talent acquisition managers. Just connect. Start.
Not to disagree with you there, but I do want to say, you know, it is important, but it isn't all about that. You know, even if you don't have a huge LinkedIn account, and don't stress that in 1 month you need to have 500 connects. It's not important. Don't seem desperate, but maybe that's why don't rely on that avenue of seeking employment to be your only avenue, where there are, you know, probably 1,000 engineering companies, you know, that you could actually call if you really wanted to, that you could get probably rejected 987 times and probably have one person that's quite interested in speaking a little bit more. But, you know, that's just, you know, a scenario. But the point is that these, you know, the cold calling that we're talking about, it's actually warm because you're speaking to someone you don't know, yes, but you are in the field because you've done your research, you've made it warm, you're in the field and you have the experience and you're providing them with an opportunity in the correct, you know, alignment to what they're hoping to achieve. So it is a warm call, and you have something to offer, not only yourself, but a very good program of which is going to be financially feasible for them. So I urge people to get an Excel spreadsheet out. I urge you to build on a lead generating database, and basically make your calls, you know, according to a script. Maybe go back and listen to this video, go back and you know, note down exactly, you know, maybe some of the pitches that some people have said, and eventually, you know, your first 10 calls might be shocking. You might stutter, you might and ah 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. They're the, you know, they're the people you're going to reject. Maybe do that for, maybe start off your calls with some of the engineering firms you don't want to get hired by, just to practice on realistically. And then eventually, once you get to a point where this is exactly where I'd like to work, maybe make sure you've had about a good half an hour of calling in you, so that you're warm. You know what answers could, what questions could be asked, what answers could be thrown at you. Whether that be by the actual person that's in charge or by the admin that's trying to deflect, reject you, or get you to send an email. But that's important too, is having the right email template. It is very important. Obviously, I don't know how Nord and Eddie would like you to set that up, but my email template didn't really include everything that I wanted to say or I wanted to sell, or it would touch on basically just wanting to get in contact with them to provide them the benefit that I would love to explain later. That is the point of my emails typically. It isn't actually to explain everything and blurt a whole lot of things on there. And I think something that's very important is your headline. Your subject line needs to be killer. Killer headline is going to get you fired, is going to get you noticed. It is going to make the person behind the screen want to open that email and not throw it in the junk because they know it's not irrelevant to what their job is. So the killer headline could be, I haven't actually preempted this, but let's say you're writing a subject line for an email. You could say,
6-month engineering internship. Boom. Hi.
That's probably a little bit even too boring. You could say how to get so much benefit from an intern. How to get benefit from an intern. How to I'm trying to come up with something, but basically
get LTU intern for $10,000.
800 hours of work for with great benefit or something like that. 800 hours of work. They think, what the hell is this? And they click into it. Hey, my name is Lauren. I'm interested in your company based on these factors, but I'd love to have a bit more of a chat about our work integrated program. And however you want to go about that, Nord. But an email template is very important, so you're not spending so much time, and you can tailor it every time to the admin that you're speaking to or that person that you're trying to connect with. That's my input. And I think killer headline is very important. I think the database in the Excel spreadsheet is very important. That's where you're always going to go back to and feel like who you've spoken to and how many days until you speak to them again if you haven't contacted who you need to contact. And I think a threshold for you guys should be, it's not pushy if you're calling 2 days later. It isn't pushy because realistically, you've introduced, you said they're not there or they're busy or they want email information. But what you are showing is initiative, and you're showing that you are persistent. And basically 2 days later is a very good threshold where you can call the ABC engineering firm that you called 2 days earlier and say, hey, it's Patrick again. I just, if it's the same admin, obviously, if it isn't, go back, obviously into the spiel, trying to get in touch with the director. But if it's the same admin, hey, it is Patrick again. I was just really, hoping to speak with John again for that, a couple of minutes. Is he free right now? And they will see that eventually, you will get through. And I think it's a numbers game. Don't get down. Don't think you don't have the right accent or the right whatever it may be that you doubt yourself with, or you think you're a disadvantaged for. Don't feel that way. It is a numbers game. The more you persist to improve, the more I believe you will land what you're hoping to land. You will achieve the reward for your effort.
What I'm going to do is I'm not opening up for questions because I think we're all a little bit exhausted. It's 2:10. Let's go up to 2:30. 20 minutes worth of questions I think is enough. If you still want more questions or you want a little bit of one-on-one, we will soldier on. So just tell me by private message. I've already got some students wanting to ask questions. So Jaspinder, you already have a question? Please ask to Patrick.
Yeah, like you explained all that tree structure, like how we used to do things and how we should do things, like in just one personal way. At the beginning of the session, you told us that he landed a multi-million-dollar deal in his first 2 weeks at Harcourts. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know how those things benefited in that deal, and how were you able to secure that multi-million-dollar deal in such a short period of time, because I believe a live lesson would be better because we've been talking about technicalities since long.
All right, I'll tell you a little bit there. So how you actually got thrown into the deep end, and I still remember this because you were supposed to have a mentor in the first week as a real estate mentor. You didn't even know, I think, how to create the contract. There was something about the contract you didn't even know. But he was supposed to go take you to that meeting. He didn't go to that.
That's right. Yeah, I'm happy to explain it.
Okay,
I was just going to. How it happened, obviously being a first year, real estate sales representative, there are protocols for every company. Now, this particular company had a protocol that when you do get what's called an appraisal. So I used to actually go out there and knock on people's doors to create interest, let them know I'm in the area for their benefit. I'm happy to present them with an appraisal, a market appraisal, and I would love to do that with them on another day when they're free, because I'm actually going to be in the area servicing their neighbor, Jenny, basically on Tuesday next week. And I would love to know if they're free as well. Just creating some urgency about how, why I'm initiating conversation with them and when I can come back to, present them with a market appraisal or a pricing for their property. People are interested in getting pricing. Everyone wants to know if they've gained value in their property that they own. And basically, there was a very key factor my director at this point wanted me to achieve, and that was when I get a market appraisal, I need to get the person who owns the property to tell me what they believe their property to be worth. Now, obviously, it was only my first week and a half in, and you forget some things as you do. I didn't see that as an important factor. And I didn't know that was going to affect me later down the track. So, I was just excited that this property was actually in Moonee Ponds was going to, allow me to come in and present to them. And it's funny, I knocked on the door and they had boxes, and I could see that through the mesh. They were moving things. They were building elsewhere, and they had boxes and they were packing. And the man looked at his wife and said, do you want an appraisal? An agent here, he wants to appraise the property. And she said, yeah, get him in. So I booked it in. Now, what happened was I booked it in, but my director at the time was pretty hell-bent on me having the pricing that they were hoping to achieve. There was a word for it, and I didn't do that. So what happened was a week and a half basically later, this is probably my third week in real estate, week and a half later, it was time to present on the day, show them what Harcourts and the real estate company, probably should have mentioned, but Harcourts can offer, how I can benefit them, what marketing plan I would like to show them that we can achieve and put forward to them that is going to allow them to get the best possible price for their property. And then I'm on the day, I've booked it in the calendar, and I'm out the front of the property, and my manager hasn't shown. And I'm thinking, oh, well, typically they don't let you do appraisals on your own, especially when you're quite new. And he didn't show. I called him and he said, mate, I'm in traffic. I'm out bloody, in Faulkner. I'm not going to be there. And I said, okay, well, you knew I had this. I wonder why you didn't show. He said, oh, you didn't put in, the valuation price. I said, yeah, I didn't put in the valuation price, but I thought you knew this was pretty serious because I'd let you know it's quite a, it's quite a large property. It's at an attractive price point, but I forgot to ask the question. He said, well, mate, I'm really sorry. You can reschedule it if you like. I said, nah, I'm not going to reschedule it. I'm not going to burn my chances. I'm going to wing it. I'm going to go in and do my thing. He goes, mate, that's up to you, but I would highly recommend you reschedule. I said, I'm not going to reschedule. He goes, okay, I'm an agent at the end of the day. I can get his help, but I don't really 100% need it. And he knew, he didn't rock up on the day when he should have too. So he actually let me do my thing. I went in there. I presented, I think quite well. I was pretty confident, a little bit nervous at the start. They were a really easygoing couple. And basically, it wasn't on that day that I secured it, but it was from that day I secured another appointment in my office, basically, where I could show them a big marketing strategy and how we would take it to auction and how we think we can achieve the best price. I had a really good marketing strategy where we had so many agents, like 50 to 60 agents across 4 different offices, just from these directors, their group alone, that I could say, we're also going to be working on the property as well. And this is how, within a 3-week period, it was probably my first week and a half, actually, I got the appointment, but within 3 weeks, I actually turned around and was able to list a property of that caliber of around nearly 1.9 to 2 mil. And basically we ended up putting it up for auction maybe by the time I did open for inspections. They were ready to move. It was about a 2-month period. We put it up for auction and we sold it on the day under the hammer. So it was quite a long process, but it was a quick process for someone in the industry. You don't usually probably list properties, get a property to sell from someone who's, trusting in you for probably a few months at minimum, I would say.
I think I know some real estate agents who have been in the game for the last 8 years just as a personal assistant. So if you follow the real estate game, the civil engineering students get into it. I think it's big for the civil industrial engineering students too, but civil engineering students, you guys need to have an idea of the real estate market. There are big players out there, and I've heard some pretty crazy stories, some stories where they've done 10 years of just being a personal assistant. So Pat didn't even do that. Pat just got into literally the first week. So I did word it a little bit differently in the way I said it, but he basically got interest in the first week and a half, which is very difficult to do for a $2 million sale. It's actually extremely difficult to do. And basically some of the techniques, as I said, we only mentioned maybe about 10%. The other 90%, well, that's what makes you different from a shit salesperson to a good salesperson to a very good salesperson. So these are things that we've just got from experience, basically tailored experience and making mistakes. Without making mistakes, I remember when I was managing Politics, which is a suit store in Doncaster, to get the maximum sale, I needed to change my pitch every time, depending on the context, depending on who I'm speaking to. So you're needing to learn that. But I had the advantage was I was reading their body language. You don't have that. So that's why I thought maybe with Pat's experience, especially on Forex, when he's cold calling people who have interest, who are maybe interested in buying some currency, how do you do that? What's that script? And as I said, I don't think we have enough time to even get into that, but that's what will benefit you in the long run, even when your career is later on. So yeah, sorry. Okay, do we have any other questions? So Jaspinder, that was a very good question. Just take yourself off the mic and ask away.
I just had a quick question for you, Patrick. In the initial pitch to the company, do you think would you recommend mentioning about the payment, or would you push that back for an initial phone call?
Very good question. Very good.
Advantage of the scholarship for it. So yeah, I was just interested.
It's a very touchy topic, and there's no rule book that's going to say yes or no, but very good question. So you're basically speaking, you've been given an opportunity now, Alex, where the admin, or the gatekeeper has passed you on to the person who can make a decision, and you have to decide, do I want to inform him everything? But then if I don't inform him everything and he doesn't give me the opportunity, he's not going to know how beneficial it is. So you're in a double whammy here where you don't, you're damned, and if you do, you might be damned. So I'm probably the type of person where I would like to touch on it. I'm the type of person. Other salespeople may not. Some people say don't talk price. Some people only want to talk price. So, it's very touchy. Alex, I know I'm not giving you a straightforward answer, but I would say, letting him know, asking for his permission, basically thanking him for his time, and then basically getting into the pitch about, why his company is going to benefit you, showing him that you've looked and that you're interested, and then how the work integrated program can benefit him. And if you don't touch on the actual price point, you could basically say, I would love to talk to you about how we could facilitate or how I will be compensated, because it's actually going to be at such a benefit to you, you probably couldn't even imagine, and leave his mind flowing if you didn't want to touch on it. And you could say, I'd love to do all that and give you all that information at a better time when I know it's better suited for you, where I could go through also my CV. But I guarantee you, John, you're going to love what I have to offer in this work integrated learning. No other university, literally in Australia, can offer what I'm offering, or what the university is offering through me. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right, brother. I hope I've answered correctly.